All right, everybody, what is up, guys? What's going on tonight? I'm just getting everything up and running here. Let me know if you can see and hear me all right. Let me know if everything's going fine on your end, and make sure you can see and hear me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. It's Sunday Fun Day. Let me know if you guys can hear and see me all right. Let me know if the stream's coming through good. Got a cold beer. You should have one too. Let me know what you guys are drinking tonight. This is the first one I've had all day. It tastes delicious. Let me know if you guys can see and hear me all right. But give me a quick shout out. Enclave, what's up, man? Yeah, good morning all the way around the world. How's it going, man? What's up, Ty? Welcome, guys. Let me know what you guys are up to this weekend, and if you guys can hear me all right. Enclave says sounds good, looks good. Okay, awesome, man. Cool. We are flying around this weekend. We had a lot of cool things going on, and I'll talk about that tonight. But I actually brewed with a buddy of mine at a commercial brewery yesterday, so that was pretty cool. It was my friend's recipe that he won on an internal competition we did. We brewed on a commercial system, a small 5-barrel system, but it was really awesome. So I'll talk a little bit about that today. That was really cool. But I'm also going to put some pictures and stuff up, probably even a little YouTube short or something on that as well, because that was a really fun experience. If you've never done that before, it's totally different. I mean, same principles, of course, as brewing at home, but of course, very different. Doing that on a commercial system. But that was really awesome. So really, really fun weekend doing that. What everybody else do? What are you guys drinking tonight? I got my I think this is probably the last pint or two maybe of that tangerine IPA I did a long time ago. This is a testament to why I add ascorbic acid into my lighter colored beers like this one. This one's that tangerine IPA, because even though it's like 3 going on 4 months later, it is fantastic still. I mean, the beer tastes amazing. That ascorbic acid you add to the mash actually preserves that beer. So that's a good testament as to why you do that. Really, really fun. But as always, welcome everybody who's just jumping on. As always, if you guys want free stickers, feel free to email me, cityscapebrew@gmail.com. I know a lot of you guys have already done that, but if you are new or you've been hanging around and you haven't done that yet, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll send you some free stickers. That email address goes on in the little scroll text below here. So if you look for that, write down that email address, send me your name and your address, and I'll throw some stickers in the mail. So you guys can put them on your keezers or throw them up at breweries or whatever you want. I'll give you a handful of them. And the stickers have a little QR code. It sends people to my channel so they can learn to homebrew themselves if they want to. So, or jump on the live stream or have a beer, right? And that doesn't have to be brewing. It could be just people who are interested in craft beer in general. So, yeah, absolutely. I'll send those to you. So go ahead and do that. Um, Also, I have a cool announcement. This is also in the little text stream, so you guys can write it down if you want to. But I'm going to be on the Brew Show's live stream later this month. So even though I might do another one in 2 weeks, I'm going to be on his live stream, on the Brew Show live stream on the August the 29th, which I think is a Thursday evening. So August 29th, me and the Brew Show, we're going to be on his live stream, and we're going to be doing some beer stuff. We're talking about doing even a little giveaway thing. If we don't do it on his channel, I'll probably just do it on mine with some different brew equipment and stuff, and different hops and like giveaway stuff for people who are going to be on the stream. So that's going to be super awesome. What's up, Bruce? What are you guys up to this weekend? Anything fun? I am enjoying my first beer of the day. I've been running around doing yard work and doing other stuff, getting groceries for the week. Yeah, fun adulting stuff, or not fun adulting stuff. But I always look forward to the live stream, guys. Appreciate you all being on tonight. I'm Trent Musho, and this is the Brew Show. Yep, that's exactly right, Enclave, man. So Trent's an awesome dude. We've been kind of in the works at doing this for a little while, so really excited about it coming up. I see him all the time on his lives. He's started doing those this year, so those are cool. But his videos are like second to none. He's actually, I think he went to school for like video editing or something, or movie production or something. So his production quality is like right up there. But I did get a new, and I don't know if people have been noticing, I did get a new camera. So my video quality has really shot up this year. I also got new microphones last week, and so my next two videos that I'll release, including the one that's coming out, I can't remember if I did this one with the new microphones. Maybe. No, I didn't do it with the new microphone. So the one that's coming out this week is on um, you reusing Trube, and so I'm going to be reusing Trube between a couple of different beers, but using the same yeast, and so I'm kind of repitching that. I'm showing people how to do that, and then next week I have a video going out on my Pilsner, because that should be finishing up in the next couple of days. I'm going to film the kind of tasting part of that, quick edit that into the video, and that'll be up for members. You can already watch the Trube one. That one's already on the channel. So if you're a channel member, you can watch the Trube one, and also you can watch the Pilsner one when that one goes up. That will be up later this week. Or not later this week. It'll probably be up Wednesday-ish or so. But for everybody else, you got to wait till Monday, or just click and become a join. Click the join button, become a member, like Ty and Enclave here, and you get my videos early and all of the um, exclusive recipes. And if, speaking of exclusive recipes, the hazy IPA I did got second place. Even though we were shooting for gold, we got second place on. I actually have that medal. I forgot to grab those. I have two medals that I won in the U.S. Open that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. I finally got those medals, and so I got the silver for the hazy IPA, and I also got a bronze for the uh, raspberry kettle sour that I did. So that's awesome. I have those hanging on the brew wall right now, right in the YouTube studio in the garage. So that's awesome. I meant to grab those quick. Maybe I'll do that a little bit later, but those are good. That means those are legit recipes, right? So if you're a channel member, you get those things. And I'm not just joking around. They're award-winning recipes, right? So again, this is that tangerine IPA I did. I was talking to others about the fact that these beers I put ascorbic acid in, and this is now like 3-something months old. I bottled a couple of these things, and I popped one today. Awesome. I mean, this is a great beer. I don't bottle condition. I just bottled a couple of them to free up the keg, and even though this is like 3.5, 4 months old, this is, I mean, an awesome, amazing beer, and it still tastes really good because of that ascorbic acid you put in the mash. So 4 grams, add it in your, I mean, you could add it to all your beers. It helps preserve, helps scrub out oxygen, and makes the beer just crushable down to the last drop in the keg. So definitely do that. But yeah, fantastic beer. I mean, a great IPA anyway, and then it's got that tangerine taste at the end. Again, we used coriander in that. I probably wouldn't use coriander again because it's got kind of got that spice. But as the keg kind of wore down, some of that coriander kind of fell out. So I'm kind of happier towards the end of the keg than I was at the beginning. But next time I do it, I'll just be doing it with straight tangerine peels rather than doing the coriander in there as well. What's up, Kevin? Tad late, but hey, better late than never, man. You're right here. You're right on time. Like we're just got started. So, I mean, I was on right at 8 o'clock, but it's only 9 minutes after. So you're good, man. Family was sick this weekend. Did get a Torpedo IPA brew day in. Awesome, man. Torpedo IPA is a good one as well. I think I'm going to be doing the Sierra Nevada, but I think I got to wait till the fall to do that because I've got a couple of brews that I need to do first. And we'll talk about those tonight too, which ones I'm going to be doing. So yeah, Tangerine IPA, I would do that one for sure. I would probably do it without the coriander. I mean, you can do it if you want to with the coriander. It just adds a little bit of that, like a spicy flavor, and I don't really care for that. I'd rather have it be kind of all the orange tangerine juiciness. And then the bite you get really is from the bitterness of the hops, which is kind of masked a little bit by the coriander. So I'd probably just leave that out. I mean, if I were you. So, but definitely do that. What's up, Larry? How's it going, man? Plan on doing your hazy. My OR water can't get it till tomorrow. Okay. So it'll be Tuesday. Second batch is the Mexican lager, right? Mexican lager is an awesome one. I actually have that in a bottle below me here because I'm going to be having a few of those tonight too. The Mexican lager is fantastic. I'm actually trying to drink that one up because I got two lagers right back to back to back behind it too. So I've been drinking that one like crazy. I love it though. It's awesome. Still need to drill a couple holes in my freezer for the temp control. You really, if you have a, do you have an upright freezer? I think you said you did last time or something. But if you have a chest freezer, I just put the cords out the lid, so you don't have to actually cut holes for them. You can just put them underneath the like seal of the lid for the fermentation chamber or freezer, whatever you're using. And so if you have an upright fridge, then of course you need to drill holes. But I would try to do that in an area where you're not going to hit coils. It's harder to do that in any type of freezer because they probably have coils all the way around them. Besides maybe the door, even if you have an upright freezer, it might be worth just running those cords in the door anyway, even if it's on the front, rather than trying to run something and accidentally hit a coil or something like that. Sometimes what you can do is drill just a small little pilot hole through the metal and then like poke a little like chopstick or pencil or something like that in there, something small, and like probe around and see if you hit any coils, because you don't want to go in real deep and then all of a sudden you hit a coil and you have a leak and your whole fridge is basically ruined. So be careful doing that. But sometimes it's easy just to go through the door because those Inkbird temperature controller cords are like really tiny. So they can just fit right in the seam and it won't let any of the cold air out. So try doing that first, or in a pinch before you drill holes, just do that first anyway and see if it works. Brandon, what's up, man? Dasby, what's up, fellas? How are you guys doing this weekend? Just made that Mexican lager with Lutra, day 3 and ready to cold crash. All right, man. That's the way to go. When I use Kvike, I still leave it for 7 days because I feel like even though it like is done in a couple, it still those last couple points take a couple of days. So, but if you're happy with where it's at right now, yeah, definitely you can cold crash it. I just still leave it for a week even when I use Kvikes. But yeah, teach your own. If you want to get it ready, go ahead, man. It sounds awesome. Did you use my recipe, Das, for that one, or did you have a different one? When's the next brew day going to be? I've got a bunch of brews that I just did, and a couple of them that are coming out on video soon. So I have my Pilsner, German Pilsner, that's coming out on next Monday. For channel members, you'll get that early because I'm going to be having that out in the next couple days. I probably will actually film the tasting of that either tomorrow or Tuesday, and then I have the rest of the video already edited, so I can just throw that in there, and then I get that up on the channel. And for members, you get that, of course, early if you hit the join button, become a member. But for everybody else, it'll be Monday, not tomorrow, but the next Monday, when that video drops for the German Pilsner. Then I actually did a Vienna lager already as well. That one's actually in the lagering stage. I haven't actually kegged it yet, but it's cold crashed all the way down into the 30s already. So that's been sitting there for a couple days. I got to transfer that to the keg this week and then get that. It'll be about 4 weeks or so, 3-4 weeks before that one's ready to drink. But that Vienna lager was amazing. I used the Trub from the Pilsner in the Vienna lager. So I actually filmed that. So the Trub video is coming out tomorrow. Then I have a different beer, which I'm not going to talk about because it's actually part of a competition that I'm doing locally that is kind of a secret recipe. But I will be putting that on the channel, full recipe and all. But we're using a secret ingredient, and everybody knows the secret ingredients, but I won't share what I'm doing with it yet. But the secret ingredient is Chinook hops. So you have to use Chinook hops in this one. It's for a competition that I do with Noda Brewing. They do a beer and branding for home brewers, and design professionals. And what they do is they have people who are there for like the design part of it, and to help build their portfolio, they want to design a like bottle label and six pack holder and maybe a case and stuff like that. But they come up with a logo and a design, and you work with them on the name of the beer. And then the brewer brews the beer with the secret ingredient. And there's two different type of competitions. There's a brewer's choice, and the brewery picks a favorite, and then there is a branding professional's choice, and then they have a whole bunch of people come in and taste all those beers at the end of the day, and they have a people's choice for the beer and a people's choice also for the branding. And last year, the secret ingredient was maple syrup. I did a different beer for that one. It was up on my channel a year ago. I think I called that beer Sticky Nuts. We ended up going with a different name for the beer and branding people, but that one's up on there. It's a maple pecan brown ale, and that one actually got People's Choice. So we won that one. And I like having People's Choice because those are the people who are actually like out in the open and not just beer snobs tasting this stuff. But it was really fantastic beer. And so this year I've got a different recipe, but since I don't have to have that done until September, I'm kind of keeping that one close to the vest for right now. So I'm gonna do a video on that. I'm gonna share what all it is, and as it gets closer to that date, I'll share more details about that beer. But that will be my next actual brew. But the only thing I can tell you is it will have Chinook hops in there. So that's awesome. Asked me used Pilsner and flaked corn with Crystal and Saz modified Mexican lager recipe. Awesome, man. Yep. So I used Pilsner, flaked maize, flaked corn. I didn't use Crystal and Saz. I used uh, Motica hops and what other hop did I use in that one? I can't remember. There's a different one in there. Maybe I did use crystal in that one. I can't remember. I have to go look. It's on my channel, so you can go look at the recipe if you want to and compare with what you did. But always making those beers really dry. So you always want to make mash in at about like 148, maybe even 150, 146, excuse me, because those are kind of meant to be kind of drier, crisper beers. And so I always like to keep those on the lower side mash temp wise. Made a raspberry Berliner Weiss, kegged up for went up for a glass last night, and you don't really like it. Uh oh, tough choices ahead. What didn't you like about it? Do you think it was like too sour, or what? How did you sour it? Did you do a kettle sour? And what did you use for that? Greg, what's up, man? My friend just I just drink hazy IPA. My cider went back to sweetness. What kind of sugar do you recommend to use for my keg? Oh, you want to back sweeten for a cider? So the to back sweeten a cider, I actually just use the concentrated apple juice, like the frozen cans of apple juice you do in the store. And so what I did was add one of those cans. They're like, I don't know what they are, 12 ounces or something like that of the concentrate. I had one of those back to and I split mine into 3 gallons. So it depends on how dry you want it, but I would start with one, taste it, and then see if you like it, and then if you want more, add a second one. Um, I for 5 gallons, I would maybe do two. Try one first. I did one in 3 gallons. I mean, I had 6 gallons and I split them and I did one a piece. So I guess I did two for 6 gallons. But that's what I did to back sweeten. But to do that, also, if you're gonna keg it, then that's just fine. You can do that. But I would also kill any yeast with. I have a video on my cider on my page, Greg. Go check that out. I can't remember the exact thing. You do the sorbates, the um, metabisulfate, and something else, and you put that in there to kill the yeast. What basically like a Camden tablet, you can use one of those, and then something else, potassium metabisulfate or something like that, and then you put those in, and it kills any of the yeast for a couple of days. You let that sit for like 2 days, then you back sweeten after like it's killed all the yeast cells because you don't want it to re-ferment um, the sugars that are in that frozen concentrate. But that will be enough to sweeten, and it'll still taste like apples because that's what I did. So that's awesome. My two back sweeten with ilethrol. I only drawback is that you have to use a ton. Nice. Have you tried any Tex-Mex or Tex malt grains? I have not. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if I've ever heard of it. I brewed a Pilsner with their Llano. Is that what they pronounce it? Llano and the Liberty hops. Good combo. I have not tried those grains. What kind of grains are those, Brandon? I'll have to look them up. I haven't heard of those before. I actually don't mind the sour. All that. Oh, you don't mind the sour at all. That came from the yeast alone. Just seems like it's lacking in mouthfeel and flavor. Okay. Well, hey, you can always put in more fruit. That's always the good thing about beer. Like that one, you can always put in a little bit more if you want to, and keep it in a sack and pull it back out when you think it's enough after a couple of days, even if it's kegged. I've never done that, but you could if you wanted to, or maybe you just learn and do it differently next time. Kevin says I'm having a hard time finding frozen apple juice concentrate, or maybe I'm ready to keg 25 gallons of cider. Okay, well then you need a couple more than two. So you can't find frozen apple juice concentrate. That's like in every grocery store in the frozen section, man. I don't know. It's in the little containers. They look mine were plastic, so but they used to be like cardboard with something on the outside of it. But yeah, they have them like Welch's grape juice and all that stuff will be there too. But regular frozen apple juice. Um, you live in an area where you can't get that regularly or something? You're welcome, Greg. I didn't even think of that. Definitely a good idea to add more fruit. Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. You can always add it even when you're drinking it, right? So you could pull a pint, throw a couple of raspberries right in there, drink her up, or mix it if you want to with something, or put some. I wouldn't put any like extract or anything like there because I always think that tastes like junk a little bit, but you could. Or just squeeze it out and put just the juice in the keg. So like if you really mashed them really good and you put them in a real good like paint strainer or something like that, and you got all the seeds so it wasn't dripping in there, you could actually just add like just juice only in the keg. That might be a better option for you because you already have it kegged, but you could definitely do that instead of just adding the fruit. Just add the juice and just juice a bunch of them. What's everybody doing tonight? So anybody do something cool this weekend or brew anything lately? I know you guys are all talking about your brews that you're doing. That's awesome, man. Feel free to keep throwing the questions at me. For those who are just jumping on and stuff, make sure if you want a sticker, you can go ahead and email me at cityscapebrew@gmail.com. There's going to be my email address going along the bottom of the screen at one point that you can write down my email address. But if you want some stickers, go ahead and email me, cityscapebrew@gmail. I'll throw some stickers in the mail for you. And you guys can share them, put them on your keyser, do whatever you want with those. And then also for people who are just joining, I'm going to be on Trent Moo Show, the Brew Show's live stream on the 29th. So go check that out. On the 29th, we're going to be on his page, though, not my page. So it'll be on his page, The Brew Show. We're going to be on that on the 29th. Hopefully doing some giveaways. We're still talking through that, so we're not really sure. If we don't do it on his channel, I'll do it on mine on another time. But that's I've got a bunch of stuff, a bunch of sample hops, and I got an Inkbird temperature controller and a bunch of other cool stuff that I have brand new that we may be giving away that night. So we're still talking about the details, but that'll be a really fun night for everybody else who hasn't been on Trent's page and his live stream. It's a lot of fun. He does them, I think, once a month or so. But yeah, it's an awesome time. Go check it out. So we'll be on there on the 29th. But it'll be again on his page, not my page. Can't make many fruit concentrates here. Think like puree seems South Africa isn't a fan for some reason. Yeah, I hear you. The point is for a party for my friend, and he likes Angry Orchard. Okay, there you go. That's like brewed like an ale, so I wonder what the difference between Angry Orchard and like a regular cider is, but I'd have to look that up too. Hmm. It might be just the yeast choice or something. I'm not really sure because this doesn't really. I mean, it still tastes like a cider. But yeah, so drinking this tangerine IPA. Gonna finish that one down here, and then I've got my Mexican lager. Again, that video's on there if you want people want to check that out. And I have my hazy IPA, and again, I won those award on that one. So, but the hazy IPA recipe is for channel members. So go ahead if you want to check out that recipe, you can click the join button, become a channel member, and you'll get that hazy IPA recipe, which is award winning now because I won the silver medal with that one. I also put the that one and two other beers, still the raspberry one, raspberry kettle sour, and which I got third place in this last competition. But I put both of those and my Mexican lager, the Ocho de Junio. That one I put in for a competition in Georgia, and all of the judging is done, but they don't release the winners until I think in I think it's at the end of this month on the 24th or something like that, or 25th. And so I think it's the weekend before. Let me see. I think they do like a winter party for some reason or something like that. I think it's on the 24th. So I should know hopefully by the next live stream how I did in those competitions too. And then I actually submitted them in three different ones, all three of those beers in three different ones. So hopefully bringing home some more hardware, some more medals and ribbons and other stuff. So that'd be awesome. But that hazy IPA was a really good one. Yeah, like I said, I don't know that I could have updated that anymore. I was very happy with how that turned out. So awesome beer. If you have the recipe because you're a channel member, go ahead and brew that one. You will not be disappointed. It's awesome. Very good beer. Probably one of my favorites. I'll probably brew that same one again. I like to mix things up and change stuff every single time I brew. I don't really brew the exact same beer all that often besides my sours. I don't really change much with my sours. But other than that, I like to just use different hops, try different stuff out, maybe a different yeast I've never tried. But like certain yeasts, like 2 years ago, I did a hazy IPA, a very similar recipe, but it was a with verdant yeast, which is awesome. That was a really cool yeast to use. That was a dry hazy IPA yeast, which was interesting because I had never used one of those before, but I thought it turned out fantastic. I was happy with that one as well. That one I also got second place on for that same competition, but I think this one did better. Um, I think I liked this one better flavor wise, the new version. But that one also was fantastic. All right, guys. What's so anyway, we got the 29th one. I think I'll still do a live stream on that Sunday night, which is in 2 weeks. But if I don't, it's because I'm still doing a live stream with Trent on that Thursday. But I think I'll do both. I think I'm still going to be on here. Maybe I'll just make it a shorter one, and then but then I'll be on his channel on that Thursday, the 29th. So that'd be really awesome. Kevin, today I finally ordered and bought the 35-liter 240-volt Brewzilla system. Awesome, man. Is that the new one? I think they made some upgrades with that one. So tell me how you like it, man. I've been talking about doing a system like that one on my channel because I have a lot of people that are doing those all in one system. So I've been talking to some different vendors and see what somebody will want to partner with, and we'll brew one on that. And I'll actually brew a couple beers on that just to kind of show people how to do those type of systems, and it'll be kind of neat because I don't do those very often myself. So, but I do want a 240-volt as well. System with a couple accessories for my upcoming 40th birthday. Happy birthday! Can't wait to see it in a couple days. That's gonna be awesome, man. Let me know how it goes. I'm pumped for you. 35 liters. I'm cheating and I'm asking how many gallons is 35 liters. I should know this. So it's basically a 10-gallon system. I figured it was. I wasn't really sure, but it's like 9.25 or something like that for 35. But the that's basically a 10-gallon system is what they claim for that one. But that's awesome, man. Happy birthday. That's sweet. The Generation 4, yeah, absolutely. So and those are the new ones. I think because they did kind of, or did they not? I can't remember. They all used to have those screens on the bottom of those on the Bruzillas and the Anvil Foundry and all that stuff, and now they've moved them up towards the top, which is just way more convenient for people instead of looking down because a lot of the people have these things sitting on the ground even, and then you had to go down and look at the little controller at the bottom and see if you could read it and all that kind of stuff. And so they moved it up towards the top because it's just that much more easy. You don't need to bend down and look at it and that kind of thing. Um, and I think that's what they did with this version as well. You went with the 65 liter Digiboil and grabbing still upgrades, still less than the Bruzilla. You know they right, yeah, they're at the top now, Kevin. Yeah, that's what I thought. So the I've been looking at the Anvil Foundry. That one's a cheaper version than the Bruzilla, but everybody likes the Bruzilla. And but people who like the Anvil Foundry, the one thing I did like about the Anvil is that they did make the connector that goes on the bottom. If you bought like a 110 volt and you wanted to switch to the 240, it's the same connection. You just need to buy the cord now, right? And so it can handle both in the same system. You don't need to buy an entirely new system to go from 110 to 240. You can just change the cord. I don't know if Bruzilla did that now too, but that was an awesome upgrade for Anvil, I think, because for somebody who's like, you know what, I like this system, but it takes forever to boil. I want something with a little more power. So now you just need to get the different cord. So I think that's cool that they did that. I'm not sure if the Bruzilla did that. I bought some anchovy hops. Supposed to be like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like fish, like anchovy fish. Supposed to be like candied watermelon profile. Hmm. What would you brew with that? I'm thinking of a wheat beer. You could. I did a. You could use them in like a Mexican lager. I did one with a Mexican lager a couple years ago with some chili peppers, and I used prickly pear cactus in it. And that one's kind of got a watermelon bubblegum flavor to it as well. So I guess that would kind of go with that as well. So you could do light beer that's kind of like easy to pick out that kind of fruity bubblegummy flavor, watermelon flavor, not bubblegum, excuse me. But you could do candied watermelon. I can't remember. There's a local brewery here in Charlotte area called Sycamore, and they do a beer called Mountain Candy, and I think they use something like that, like a candied watermelon hop. But I don't know that that's true or not. But it does have that kind of candy flavor to it, so that's why they call it Mountain Candy, because it does have that kind of sweeter, but it's still a great IPA. It's like a 7.5%, almost 8% IPA, but it's got this like sweeter. I can't even describe it. It's just different, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's something like those anchovy hops. I'd have to look at it closer, but that reminds me of that beer. So you could use it probably even in like a pale ale or something like that too, because it's just giving you that little more complex flavor in it. But I would try it first in like a light blonde ale or something like that, and see what you think. Or maybe not a blonde, but a lighter beer, and see what you think. See if you can pick it out easier and it's not masked with like you don't want to mask it with malt flavors or something like that. You want to be able to taste it. I think that's where the wheat beer might, if depending on what type of yeast you're using, the wheat beer would be if you're using a yeast that's more like banana clove, like a Hefeweizen, it might kind of mask the hops no matter what it is, unless you use a different yeast. You could just do a wheat beer like an American wheat type thing that doesn't have that Hefeweizen yeast in it. Brazil is the best for the price, good quality. Hey, man, I tell you, people who have their Brazilias love them. I'm just trying to get something that's a little cheaper because I'm probably not going to use it every time I brew, but I do want to get something like that to share with people how I would do it on a system like that. And I know a lot of people don't have propane or can't have some type of gas or natural gas or something like that. So they brew in like an apartment or something like that where they can't have propane. And so having one of those all-in-one systems where you can just plug it in is awesome. But yeah, definitely gonna get something like that here. That was on my bucket list to get this year, so I need to get on that. I haven't done that yet, but I meant to do something like that earlier this spring, and then I got really busy and with some other stuff, and then I think that'll be a good one to do in the fall though, or over the winter months. Maybe I'll get one on sale like around Black Friday or something. That'd be sweet. I don't know if they have sales on those, but I bet you they do. I'm lucky all of our stuff is 240, 220, 240. Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, some of that, some of the appliances and stuff like that that are 240, 250. It's good to have a few of those, even if you only have a couple of them in the house. But I have several. that I can convert from and put in my garage if I need to, because I have extra space in my breaker, but I also have a 240 volt already for my range, which this is basically what I did with my natural gas is I had both. I had the gas and the 240 plug, depending on what kind of a range you got in your kitchen. And so I just flipped the gas onto the other side of the wall, and then I came out that's what I use for my burner right now is natural gas. But I could just do the same thing with the plug because I don't use that for my range is natural gas. So I could actually just flip that around and actually use the 240 volt in the garage and very easily run a cord to that. So that'd be cool. Brandon says I have an anvil and it's great. Love the fact that a pump is external. Also, the heating element isn't in the way. Yeah, there's benefits, there's pros and cons to all of those things, but I do like the newer anvils where they have the upgrades that they made. I think are huge differences. But yeah, I think all of them have their pros and cons. Um, and they're all similar. I mean, they're all similar. I think they kind of steal things from each other too a little bit. Like one does one thing. It's just kind of like Apple and Google. They're going back and forth with different technology, and once one person has it, the other one uses it. That kind of thing. It's kind of like that. So all of those systems, if they find something they can improve on, they're gonna do that in their next version of their equipment. So I think that's cool. My main setup is a two kettle electric that's best for 10 gallons and 15 gallons. So wanted a simple 5 gallon on one. It was on sale for 200 off. That's awesome, man. Hey, you can't go wrong when it's on sale for 200 off. I would have bought an anvil, but there aren't even people selling them here. I could get a Digiboil or a Brewzilla for the price of a car. So my choice was made for me. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you got to get what you can get, right? So that's why a lot of people start out with, the system I have with, propane or natural gas with, even Rubbermaid coolers and or even just a pot on a stove to start out with because whatever is available to you. I was actually kind of spoiled when I first started brewing. I lived in Minnesota and I was really close to Northern Brewer, who like is a big hop and homebrew store nationally for most of your grains and hops and kits and all that kind of stuff, especially as you're getting into it. But actually, I had a good brings me to another point. I was talking to a friend of mine on Saturday, and um, he was telling me about the kits that you can get now that are no boil kits. Has anyone heard of those things? So I guess More Beer has them. Let me look them up. They have these no boil beer kits. It might be a good video to try because I just can't imagine that they would be good, but I don't know. We'll see. Let me see this thing here. No boil kit. Yeah, they're called flash brewing. Isn't that crazy? So like you can go here's the one. Let me share my screen here. So they have this thing on More Beer and it's called Flash Brewing. This one's Cali Mountain Pale Ale 5 gallon recipe kit. You just mix the DME and you have there's a hop oil that you get with it, a yeast, a flash yeast, and then you get the DME, and then you get Cascade hops, cryo Cascade hops, I guess, in this one. And I'm assuming the bitterness must come from this hop oil that they give you. And I'm not sure what the difference in the flash yeast is, but it's a $50 kit, which is kind of expensive, I think, for what you get there, but carefully selected for rapid fermentation. Okay, so I'm not sure what that means. If it's like a Kveik or something, I'm not sure. But anyway, they get these kits and you don't boil them. So I guess it's kind of cool for people who this only requires 10 minutes to brew. You just mix and then you ferment it in a fermenter. Yeah, so this Cali Mountain Pale is inspired by Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale. I just never heard of this before. So you have an estimated 5.6 with 30 IBU, but how do you get IBUs? It must be in that hop oil because you can't get IBU without boiling it. So that's really weird. So it must be in that hop oil. They must have some IBU in it somehow. I have no idea. But makes 5 gallons of finished beer. And it's got 4 stars. Oh, it's only got one review. These are fairly new though. Someone was just telling me about these, and I was like super interested. Kind of a cool concept and something I might look at doing for the channel and see if it's any good at all. Because this is actually a cool. I was thinking like this is a cool thing for people who are just getting interested in home brewing. Like maybe they don't want to buy all the stuff and mash and whatever, and the extract kits are maybe the next step up. But like, what do you do? Um, in the meantime, do maybe you start with this and maybe say, oh, you know what, this is actually pretty easy. You just throw everything in there and now you ferment away. Well, that's pretty simple. Make some beer. I'm sure I don't know what it's going to taste like. So I guess I would try it and see, and maybe it's terrible, but for $50, why not? So I might do that for on the channel just to try that out. But any thoughts on that? Because I just can't even wrap my head around that right now. I'm like, I don't know if I want to try that or not. But I mean, I mean, I want to try it, but I don't know if I want 5 gallons of it. I don't know if it's worth $50 to do it. But for the channel, for you guys, I will do it anyway. That's something I think I might do. Maybe I'll make a regular Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, all grain brew version, and then make one of those, and we'll see how close it actually is. Maybe we'll have all three. We'll have the homebrew style, we'll have the real Sierra Nevada, and then we'll have this flash brewing kit, and we'll do a three-way side by side, and we'll see what it tastes like. But that's just crazy to me that you wouldn't boil anything. You just throw it all in there. It's like a wine. Northern Brewer is so big they get to me across the globe. Yeah, absolutely. So I lived right next to Northern Brewer, or not right next to it, but driving distance to Northern Brewer in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when I lived there. And I was spoiled because I could go in there, I could get just about anything. It was awesome. They had a huge, huge, huge warehouse. Warbeer has some good deals. Yeah, they do. Every once in a while, I'll come across some real good stuff there. And so, I don't buy my kits and stuff or my ingredients on More Beer as much. I'll buy some things there as if they're very unique, but I try to support my kind of local homebrew supply store here in the Charlotte area just because they've been really good for me. And also, I just like to support local businesses rather than get my ingredients online. But they don't have everything, so sometimes I have to order stuff online, but it depends on what it is. To get too far in the weeds, but they could extract hop terpenes the same way we do for cannabis? I have no idea, man. The extract, I gotta imagine the IBUs come from the extract because the cryo hops aren't going to give it any IBUs. You're just adding that basically for hop aroma and flavor in the end of product like you would dry hopping because that's basically what you're doing. But the hop oil you must add in right away, and my guess is that's what is going to give it kind of that that those IBUs right away. It must have some bitterness built in it, if you will. Or maybe they tell you to boil that thing, it's separately or something like that, and they say, oh, it only takes 10 minutes, but you're boiling like a little bit of water and mixing that oil in it for a little bit. But I don't think so. Just says mix and walk away, so who knows? But I have to read the directions. I have no idea. Could be either an isolation process or cold pressing to extract the hop oils. Yeah, so that you can buy hop oils all over the place. So those aren't abnormal, right? So people use hop oils in regular brewing processes all the time. So I'm not worried about, or I'm not questioning the hop oils. I'm just questioning how they get the bitterness because even with the hop oils, I think you have to add them during the boil process, or you should. Um, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. So my guess is that they have to boil them still, but maybe not. Maybe they have some. Maybe they've already boiled the oil and they're just giving it to you, and they just put it in there. It's already got bitterness in it. I have no idea. I couldn't even like wrap my brain around it when somebody told me about that the other day, and I'm like, you're brewing a beer and you just mix it and ferment. I guess it's kind of like those pinter systems, but I think those kind of I don't know if those actually boil it or heat up or at all. I think those pinter systems, they do that same thing. A couple people, they actually sent me an email and wanted me to, they were going to give me one of those systems. And a lot of people, a lot of the brew community people have already gotten one. They sent them to them for free and they've done videos on them. So I didn't want to be like the fifth guy who did that, but they offered me one of those as well. And I was like, I'm only going to use it like once for a video and then I'm not going to use it again. So I'm not going to even respond to the guys. But I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, use this in your video and we'll send it to you for free." But unless I'm really going to use it or I really want to like stand behind it, I'm not going to take an advertisement thing for somebody just to, get something for free or a little bit of money. I got to really want to do it. That's why I'm thinking like the all-in-one brew system might be something where I brew 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 batches, um, shouting out, whatever system I get for that individual because that's something that people are going to use all the time. And I know that they're going to be good quality stuff. I don't want to just say, hey, some dude sent me this crappy pH meter and now going to put it on my channel. I have my own stuff I've used and I put them on my Amazon store for you guys to get the same ones because I know they work, right? I don't want to advertise something and say, oh, just because somebody sent it to me for free. But I'd rather say, hey, this was the one I use all the time. Go check it out. It's on my Amazon store, which, by the way, it is. If you're curious of all the equipment that I use, all of it in the video description below the video here, all of that stuff's in there, and you guys can check it out yourself and buy the same stuff. It's the same price you would normally get on like Amazon, but uh, it's it gives the channel a little kickback, so it's a good way to support the channel as well. But it doesn't cost you any more or less to buy it on Amazon or through my store, but it just gives me a little kickback, so it's a good way to help the channel out. But those are the exact things I use, right? So if I put something and you're seeing it in my videos, I put it on my Amazon page so you guys can buy the exact same stuff. And a lot of people have done that, and they're like, "Oh, I see you doing it this way, so I want to do the exact same one." I'm like, "Yeah, there you go, man." So like my scales, pH meters, all that stuff's on that one as well. But I don't want to put something I don't know, I haven't tried, and then tell you guys, oh, go buy one of these things. But they're probably crappier than the stuff I'm already using. And I don't buy real expensive stuff. I just buy stuff that's economical and works basically. So Enclave. So I'm actually talking to Clawhammer right now about doing some type of collab video in the future. So going up there, I only live 2 hours from them. So I've been talking with Kyle, and I'm going to email him and hopefully set something up for, winter, fall, spring, or something like that. They're really busy up there. So I know he messaged me back and he said, yeah, shoot me an email. We'll get something set up, but it'll be a little while before I get up there. But yeah, I have a lot of friends that have claw hammer systems. I actually have a lot of um, I have a lot of there's a lot of YouTube channels that have claw hammer systems. So part of the claw hammer deal is that not everybody wants to see the exact same system when people are watching YouTube. It's a really awesome system, and I'll tell you what, I would love to have one just in general. But at the same time, the everyone uses them, right? So the Brew Show and Homebrew for Life and the Apartment Brewer and all those guys, they all use a claw hammer system, and that's awesome because it works really, really well, right? So why wouldn't you? But it's also the same thing you're watching for everybody's videos then, and I want to be separated a little bit from those guys a little bit. So um, that's just my 2 cents of it. But yeah, those guys are awesome. They're super cool. I would love to just go up and hang out for a day and brew a beer, like regardless of what system I use versus they use. So very, very cool. But yeah, absolutely. I have a little conversation going on the side with them. But yeah, there's like a little close knit brewing community. We all get together and we have a chat system and stuff like that. So we all talk about um, different stuff and share different things that we're seeing on YouTube and asking questions and stuff like that. It's really cool that they have that for even a small channel as me. I mean, compared to like the Brew Show or a Clawhammer, like I'm tiny, right? I've only got like not even 6,000 subscribers yet, but working up there, we're getting there. Um, but yeah, we're getting there. And then, but Brew Show's got like 60,000, and Clawhammer's probably over 100 now or something, 100 and something probably. So they're doing obviously way better than me as far as the YouTube scene, but cool that we're all in like a group chat to kind of talk about different things. We talk about advertisers sending us different stuff, so we're not all doing the same things on YouTube. So it's pretty cool, little close group, um, and sharing everything. So that's awesome. So I use a store in the Charlotte area, called Alternative Beverage, and so they're my homebrew store. They do have a website. It's the letter E brew.com, ebrew. It's kind of it's not as good of a website as like Northern Brewer or something like that, but they do ship all over the place. So that's where I get a lot of my ingredients from. But I go there locally to get it, and I know the owner pretty well, and so he's a awesome dude, always helping participate in our homebrew club and stuff. So that's really cool. But yeah, you can buy stuff if you want to from there. It's ebrew.com. So the letter E brew.com. That one is alternative beverage. That's where I get a lot of my brewing ingredients, and they got all different kinds of hops, even stuff they don't even have on their website. They will have in the store. But if you question what they might have, you can give him a call. He'll probably have it anyway, even if it's not on their website. So, but yeah, huge like warehouse full of stuff. So they always have different, grains and malts and other stuff that I'm not even thinking of. So I always look around and get some cool ideas when I go there. Also of stuff that I want to brew, but they do like homebrew kits. They do extract stuff. They do wine making, mead, whatever, mead, wine, seltzers. That's where I got my root beer one as well. If you saw the root beer video, they do the root beer extract for like sodas and different stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I'm gonna pop in and get my hazy IPA out. I got my Mexican lager in there too, so I'll probably have a couple of each. But I filled a couple of flip top bombers to bring in here from my keg, so I didn't have to keep running out there. But this hazy's awesome. Let's see if we can get the pop ready. Ooh, that was way more forceful. It almost hit me in the face. But yeah, that was this hazy is the best. So good. So good. I can't believe I even have some left in the keg because I've been drinking the crap out of it and I've been sharing it with people, and I still have some. So I was lucky to fill this 22 bomber because I think this one's almost empty too. Such a good one. Again, second place trophy award winning beer. If you're or a club member, if you're a channel member, you are able to get that as a channel member. Hazy IPA, still going strong. Smells so good. Mm. All those tropical citrus fruits. Love it. I get like mango pineapple. After like a couple sniffs, you have to like sniff something else. Like, yeah, like mango pineapple flavors. That's what I'm getting in the aroma. It's awesome. Yeah, the glycol chillers. Yeah, one of your reasons I enjoy your channel is all the approachable, even for a beginner. Saw so many people where they use like $50,000 equipment to brew. Yeah, and yeah, right. And so I will tell you I am all about saving money, doing stuff DIY. Ty says built your DIY hop spider this weekend as well. Worked great because a torpedo IPA costs so many hops, and my Magnum AA were low. Yeah, absolutely. So um the hop spider is awesome though, and you use like a paint strainer bag in them and stuff like that. Those things are they work so much better than even those like stainless steel ones, and that's what the claw hammer uses, even as one of those stainless steel ones. But I probably wouldn't even use that in there. I'd probably just dump it right in and strain them later, or use the DIY hop spider that I already have. That thing is like one of the first things that I built like DIY, and it is awesome. And the reason I say that is because you can put dozens of ounces of hops in there. You could probably put like 10 or 12 ounces of hops in that DIY hop spider, and it would not clog. I mean, it fills up and it gets kind of like a balloon, but you can take your paddle underneath it and like lift it up, and it'll all just like go out. But it holds a lot of that hop material, so it doesn't get all in your beer later. And so that's what I like about it. So you're gonna get some stuff that goes through there, but not very much at all, and it doesn't always get clogged up. So yeah, make one of those if you can. It's like the cheapest thing you can do, like $5 or whatever it is. Inflation, $8, okay. But yeah, then you can reuse those paint strainer bags too because they're like silicone, and you can they withstand the boil. You can wash them afterwards, reuse them in those hop spiders over and over and over again. I use them 2 or 3 times before I throw them away, but I buy like a 25 pack of them big 5 gallon paint strainer bags and 1 gallon paint strainer bags for dry hopping, and those again are on my channels or on my Amazon store. So if you go check those things out, that's the ones I use for those DIY hop spiders. But my channel is all about like being economical, right? If I can make it myself, why not, right? I did the hop dropper. If you've seen that DIY hop dropper thing, that thing's sweet. That thing works awesome. Um, I crammed too many hops the first time I used it in there, but that works really good. I do the DIY kind of recirculation thing on the top of my mash tun, and people are like, "Oh, you don't have all these fancy pumps," and it's like, yeah, because gravity's free, and I don't need to buy any pumps and clean all that crap out at the end of my brew day, right? But guess what? My beers are winning medals, man. Like I don't care if it's in a Rubbermaid container or some shiny conical fermenter. It's all about the process. It's all about your recipe. It's about you being meticulous. That's what it's all about, man. What's up, Sonny? How's it going, man? What are you drinking tonight? Anything cool? Did you do anything cool this weekend? Let me know. Hazy IPA, just popping this one. Such a good one. If you haven't brewed this one, go check it out. It's the latest Hazy IPA video, and if you're a channel member, you get the recipe for that one, and you should brew that. It is awesome. One of the better beers I've ever made. Really, really good. Checking your AA is a great lesson. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think people, let's talk about that a little bit because I don't think people understand the alpha acid. So, what we're talking about by AA is, for those who are wondering, it's the alpha acids content in your hops, right? So, every hop has an alpha acids content and it's a percentage, and it ranges everywhere from like, 5 or 6 or something like that all the way up to the teens, 13, 14, 15 AA, and that's alpha acid percentage. And the reason that's important, and cryo hops have even more, but the reason that's important is because the more AA or alpha acids that the hop has, the higher and more bitterness it will give to your beer. So a higher, like 13% AA, will be a good bittering hop because you can put it in early. You don't need very much of it, but it'll do a good job of bittering. But some people get recipes, especially like online and stuff, and they see these recipes and then they just go buy the hops, but the hops themselves range, right? So from year to year or even hop supplier to hop supplier, those alpha acids will be different. And so when you're creating a recipe, like using Brewer's Friend or Beersmith or something like that, and then you get one of the other recipes from their website, check and make sure that your alpha acids are in line. And so you have the alpha acids on the package that you buy or that you get in the mail, or if you go to your homebrew store, your homebrew supplier should list the alpha acids for that hop. And you can actually go in your calculator, your recipe, and change them to the ones you actually have, right? And so if you have less AA in your, like I think Ty, you were saying your AA was less than the recipe called for, something like that, you might need to add more hops in order to get the same IBU because your hops have less alpha acids. So that's a good point. I don't know that I've ever really done a video on that, but when you're doing it might be a good one to do in the future. I'm going to take a note of that if I can find a pen. Here's a pen, I think. Oh no, that is not a pen. Here's a dry erase marker that should work. A explanation. That's a good video to do in the future. So that's why I'm writing it down. But that is that's something, a lot of people just say, oh, look, it asks for an ounce of Cascade at this amount, right? But your Cascade hops might be more alpha acids or less alpha acids than someone else did for the recipe, or that your thing calls for. But you want it to be the same IBU. That's what's important, because if your IBU is 25, which stands for International Bitterness Units, that's the bitterness that you'll get in your beer. You want that alpha acids to be matching and get up to 25 on your recipe builder. So you might find that the recipe that you're doing is 25, but when you put in your alpha acids, it might only be 20, or it might be 30, right? It might be higher or lower. And so you can adjust the amount of hops that you put in to make sure that your beer is getting to that 25 IBU. So that's a super good question, or good comment, Ty. My Magnum came in and we're only like 8.9. Wow, Magnum's usually like 15. That's crazy, Ty. So yeah, you'll have to add a bunch more. Experiment Pale Ale, Malt Oak Flates, wheat uh, with wheat flakes, Carafoam, Nectron 60-minute. Nice. Oat flakes. I don't know that I've ever used oat flakes. Wheat flakes, Carafoam. Awesome. Do you just brew that one? Just whirl. Oh yeah, just whirlpooled at 190, 2 ounces, 1 ounce Nectron, 1 ounce Citra. Mandarina Bavaria, awesome. That's the orange flavor hops. I love Mandarina Bavaria. That's pretty cool. Nectron and Citra are always awesome. Yeah, Mandarina Bavaria is I also used in the last beer I was just drinking, was that tangerine one, and that one I used because that one's gonna be like an orange flavor too. So Mandarina, I can't even talk. Mandarina Bavarian is a good hop. It's a good orange flavor. So if you want those citrusy flavors, good in a hazy IPA like this one. It's also good in a regular pale ale to give it that little citrusy kick. Love to see your spin on a Japanese rice lager. I actually had a good one of those last year. I've never made one myself, but I had a good one. Somebody made one of those for the competition we did last year at the beer and branding that I was talking about earlier. If you were on, that one is branding professionals and stuff, and we'd use maple syrup. And someone did a Japanese rice lager with maple syrup in it. It was awesome. It was actually really, really good. It's one of the few of that whole night that actually ran out, and some people didn't get to try it because it was so. I wouldn't say it's so popular. He didn't probably bring enough, but I've had a couple of those. Those are actually really good. I've never tried it, but that's a good one to write down too, because Japanese rice lager. There's not a lot of videos on those either. I'm writing these down for some future videos to put up for you guys. But no, I've never done one before, so that would be a cool experiment. Love to make one. That'd be cool. Pulled the Torpedo IPA recipe off Sierra Nevada. Yeah, so they have that recipe and their regular pale ale recipe, 5 gallon. Ty, um, did you use their yeast, or what yeast did you use? Because Sierra Nevada is one of the few that don't filter their beer, so you can actually like buy a 6 pack of their bottles or something, and you can actually save the little tiny bit of yeast trub if you don't shake them up. Just really carefully pour off and keep the little bit of yeast and actually do that. So I haven't done that with Sierra Nevadas before, but I have with Bell's. So I've done those, and you've probably seen videos of mine doing that. But this time, when I do the Sierra Nevada um, Pale Ale this year, which I'm going to do sometime this fall, I'm actually going to use their yeast. So I'm going to actually um, uh, create a little yeast starter from their bottles and use their yeast. The best version that I have found for, and I'm going to look it up because I can't remember exactly which imperial yeast it was, but I think it was Independence. Let me look here. So if I go to my brewer's friend, it'll tell me. Um, when I did my Sierra Nevada celebration clone last year, that I used a different yeast, and it was more of I think, a better comparison to what Sierra Nevada uses for their yeast. Um, and it was, what yeast did I use here? Oh, it's Omega, excuse me, West Coast Ale 004. That's what I used. And I think that one was, I thought it was Imperial for some reason, but the West Coast Ale 004 is what I used for the Celebration Ale version 2 that I did this year, which was like spot on. So if I didn't use their yeast from their bottles, I would use that yeast. I think it's Omega's West Coast Ale. It's OYL 004 is the number for that one. So 004 Omegas. That one is awesome. Really good yeast. That's the first time I had used that one too. Used USO5. You know what? And that's okay too. They say they're all Chico yeasts. My opinion of Sierra Nevada's yeast is that it is more citrusy than the clean versions like USO5, USO4, or even like White Labs 001, which is like their clean ale yeast, which is great for like really clean pale ales, IPAs, that kind of stuff. But the thing that gives like Bell's and Sierra Nevada their little edge over everybody else is their proprietary yeast. They use those yeasts for like most of their beers. And I think it's more citrusy flavored than 001 or which is White Labs 001 or the USO5 from South Safe Ale or from Fermentus, but Safe Ale USO5. I think that it's a good yeast. I mean, I use USO5 all the time and USO4, and I use Soft Lager 3470. I think they're all good brands, but I think that their proprietary yeast is what makes them like such a good um, company, like nationwide, because no one can kind of replicate their yeast strain because it's proprietary to themselves. But because they don't strain their yeast or because they don't filter, you can actually get it yourself. So next time, like brew this one, right? And then like try it with again the same recipe, but then also brew it with their yeast next time and see if you like it, man. It would be a cool experiment. Like save a couple bottles, then like brew it again and use their yeast and see if it's any different. But if you can't use their yeast, the Omega's West Coast Ale1 YO or OYL 004 is amazing. So you can try that one out too. Dude, I love this beer. Hazy IPA, guys, go brew it. You have to brew this one. Fantastic. I just finished that IPA, Tangerine IPA, and I was like, this one's really good. But man, I forgot how good that hazy is. In comparison, that blows that one out of the water. The hazy is awesome. And I'm not I like a little bite in my hazies and stuff. This one's got a little bit, but it's really nice and pillowy. But man, this one's again, it's at the bottom of the keg, and like I said with the last one, that one was like 3-month old beer, and because I use that 4 ounce or 4 grams of ascorbic acid in the mash, it preserves these beers like awesome. I mean, this thing is as good as like the first day I poured it almost, and it is almost empty. So use that ascorbic acid. I'm telling you that it makes a world of difference. Before I started using that, I used to like at the end of the kegs, it would get like older tasting or like over conditioned kind of tasting, and they just be like they're kind of getting like bad beer almost, right? But they're good till the last drop when you add that ascorbic acid in there. It's awesome. I make either 23 or 46 liters per month. I think it's 7 gallons, 14. Most be giving it to friends. Yeah, you know what? When I brew, I don't drink all my beer. I mean, I bring them. I have friends over all the time, and they know better than tend to bring beer to my house because and they still do. They still bring some beers, but most of the time they're just drinking my stuff because they're like, Dennis has beer. He's gonna have beer at his house. We're good. Just come on over. And then I have, my homebrew club nights. I'll bring, these bomber bottles of different stuff to my homebrew clubs all the time. So I'm always giving away beer and having people sample stuff and that kind of thing. So speaking of yeast, I used S23 in your Oktoberfest recipe. Awesome. Came out super fruity. I'm letting it lager, so see if it mellows out, but I was expecting something a bit cleaner. What did I use in that one? I didn't use S23 in that one. Let me look. Oktoberfest. That makes me think because I haven't brewed that Oktoberfest in like a couple of years. I didn't brew it last year because I brewed the pumpkin beer. Oktoberfest. So my 2022 Oktoberfest, I used I used Oktoberfest from Omega, and the year before that I brewed with, was it a White Labs one? Yeah, it must have been White Labs of Oktoberfest. So last year I did Omega Yeast Oktoberfest YOL 107 last year for that Oktoberfest. I could you were throwing me through the loop because I don't think I used S23 in there. Let me see S23. I don't know that I've ever used S23 yeast. I have to remind myself of what it is. So it's a lager yeast, but it's not. Let me see. Is it a German one? It might be. It might be good for. Might throw off some esters and stuff that have more of like the for like the German lagers and stuff. But I'm not. Let me look at what that one is. Yeah, it's a German yeast, genuine German bottom fermenting brewer's yeast in Berlin in Germany, recommended for the production of fruitier and more estery lagers. So yeah, that's right up. That's what it is. So this is off of Northern Brewers website, Ty. So it does have a fruitier, more estery lager, and that's why a lot of times why I use 3470 for like ones that I want to be cleaner and not like kind of overshadow some of the beer itself. Oktoberfest are different though. So those are Marzen style beers, and those are kind of specific. So I don't know that I would have used S23, but um, I don't know that I've ever used S23 to be honest with you. Or no, this is S. No, this is okay. Sorry, they have a misspelling on their website. It says S23 at the top, but then in the description here, I'll show you. This is Northern Brewers website and S23, and it has soft lager S23 German lager yeast. But then down here it says S33. They just have a typo. There's a bottom fermenting yeast, and then it says with the fruitier and and more estery lager. So that's probably why you're getting that because it actually throws those kind of esters out. Best when fermented at low temperatures, yet it can ferment at high temperatures, even in the 60s. Did you brew it in the 60s or did you brew it in this 50 to 57 range, Ty? The reason I ask is because sometimes those like higher temperatures throw off more esters than the lower temperatures do, depending on the yeast strain. It could mellow out a little bit too, like you're saying, as you're conditioning it, but yeah, that's probably why you're getting that. Is because that one actually does have fruitier and hoppier lager flavors, but probably still made beer and probably still, you just live and you learn, man. You know what? Part of brewing is making those type of mistakes. I wouldn't even call it a mistake. You're just learning by brewing with something you hadn't brewed with before, and now you know what that one flavor tastes like, and it's kind of good and bad, right? Maybe you wouldn't use it for that same beer style again, but you would say, you know what? I actually have a good lager that would be good for with, and actually might be good for like a cold IPA. Like I did that cold IPA, and I use 3470. But if this is fruitier and hoppier, maybe that's really good and plays well with like a citrusy, hoppier, cold IPA or the cold IPA is like it uses lager yeast, but in those warmer temperatures. But they're meant to be like bitter, citrusy, fruity, and so maybe this fruitier, hoppier one would be really good for that style, right? But then you're saying, hey, maybe I wouldn't use it for this one, but I would use it for that. So you're kind of learning kind of two things at once. Maybe because you know what that lager yeast tastes like now like you can use it in something else. fermentation chamber was 55 and it was around 58. That's still pretty good. That's within the range of it saying it says 50 57, but it's close enough. I mean, if you're 1 degree off, it's not a big deal. But that I will say it's right in the lower temperature range, but it says it could be as high of 61 to 68 degrees. Uh, and that's totally fine. So, I mean, it can brew at ale temperatures too. But those are those esters that like sometimes at the higher ranges, it gives off more of those like fruitier, hoppier, things like it was saying in the description. But yet if you were to maybe brew it next time at like 50 or 51, you'll probably find out like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't as fruity. But I don't know that I would have used that one again in the future. If I were you, I'd probably just go with some other Oktoberfest yeast. But now hey, guess what? I might have a beer that's awesome with that stuff. And that's what it's all about is learning, man. I used to brew so many different like um, uh, smash beers. So smash stands for single malt and single hop. And so just so I could taste different like malt choices and hop styles and yeast choices, I would brew the same brew, but then I would use a different yeast the next time so I could see how that style was. And I still do that. I do a tried and true recipe, and then I pick a different yeast from a different company that I hadn't used before. I thought, you know what, this one's we're gonna try it out, right? And some of them I found out like I'm really happy with, and I'm really glad I did that because so many people kind of stay on the safe road and they'll do USO5 and White Labs 01 because they're clean ale yeast, and then they'll use a certain lager yeast. But doing what you did, Ty, is awesome. Like try something different. That's a good way of doing it. Sonny, I tried to make a different one every month, but I always return out. Any views on cold IPAs as a style? I love them, Enclave. Um, so here's my opinion of the cold IPA. So I like a regular West Coast IPA anyway, right? So West Coast IPA is more bitter, it's piney, but it's citrusy all at the same time. And it's got like a kind of middle amberish color, and it's got a little bit of a malt backbone, but not very much, just a little bit. Like it's mostly base malt, and then it has like, 6 to 10% of some crystal malt or something like that to give it some color. The difference in a cold IPA, this for people who are wondering, is, and I have a video of it on my page too of a cold IPA, and you can check it out. But the difference of a cold IPA, it's kind of trying to be a West Coast. But it's almost kind of being the opposite of a hazy, right? So if you got a hazy IPA, it's cloudy, it's juicy, it's not as bitter, it's fruity, right? But they're trying to say, well, what if we kind of went the opposite direction, but still it's like a different turn on an IPA. So they kept the bitterness from the West Coast. So they wanted a bitter beer, not a less bitter fruity beer and fuller mouthfeel. They wanted a clean, crisp, and when we mean clean, crisp, they wanted a light beer. So they went really light, like a Pilsner or Kolsch, with that. And this is Wayfinder Brewing in Portland, Oregon, started the cold IPA. So they went with like this like the opposite of a hazy. So they said, okay, we're going to do it clean, crisp, and light. So it's going to be a drier beer. It's going to be a higher ABV. It's going to be a lot more bitter than a hazy, but we want to keep that citrusy flavors and notes in like you would find in even in a hazy a little bit, like those citrusy flavors, but also in a West Coast IPA. So you could do some piney or citrusy notes, but instead of it being kind of maltier, that like a regular IPA would be maltier, because it would have, some percentage of some crystal malt. They said, nope, we're not doing that at all. We're actually going to use flaked rice instead to make it really light. And then we're going to use a lager yeast, and we're going to brew it at ale temperatures though. So it's going to brew really fast, it's going to brew really clean, and we're going to have this as a drier beer. So it's clean, crisp, light, and then it's got all these hops in it that are citrusy. So I really like them. I think they're fantastic. They're great summertime beers too, but they're also just good year round. I mean, they're a great bitter, hoppy, citrusy light beer. It's really, really a cool concept. Um, I think other people have kind of created this type of beer before, but they just didn't have a name to it. So I don't think it's like new in the sense of like nobody's ever done this before. But I do like the cold IPA using a lager yeast at ale temperatures. So it's not like they took the same IPA recipe and brewed it with a lager yeast because that's just a IPL, India Pale Lager, right? Same thing, but they brewed it at lager yeast at lager temperatures. In this case, they brewed it completely with a lager yeast, but at ale temperatures. So they're brewing it at like 64, 65 degrees, but with soft lager 3470, which is what I used for like my Pilsner and my Vienna lager. But I brewed those at 50 something and not in the 60s. But that same yeast, and then they used a lot of really light grains. So Pilsner, two row ish, and then flaked rice. And they even added dextrose. And so instead of adding more grains, they just added dextrose, which is sugar, and they corn sugar basically, and they made it a higher ABV. So it is like 7%, I think the cold IPA from Wayfinder was. It's got flaked rice. It's got like a bunch of different hops, Cascade hops, and let me see what hops they had in there. I have this cold IPA recipe on my website too. So if you're on my Facebook or Facebook, on my YouTube, what are we doing here? YouTube. Okay, so on my YouTube channel, if you look at that, I have that recipe on there under the cold IPA. But let me see what ones we used in that one. That's a great beer, by the way. Cold IPA. Here we are. So this was my version of Wayfinders. It had Magnum as a bittering hop, but then it had Mosaic, Centennial, Chinook, and Amarillo in it. And the Chinook, Cascade, and Amarillo was dry hopped at high Krausen like you would a hazy IPA, which is crazy because that's what gives you that like citrusy, unlocks some of those biotransformations and stuff at high Krausen. So you don't dry hop at normal times. You dry hop during high Krausen. And then you Whirlpool, Mosaic, and Centennial, which is like you're cooling down at 75, you're recirculating at 175 degrees. And then there's Magnum at the beginning, and then there's Mosaic and Centennial again during the boil. But that again, that whole recipe's on my channel. You can go check that out. But that was a good recipe. I think I would change this a couple things the next time I brew this, but it was fantastic. I wouldn't change much. It was a very good beer. But yeah, that was a really good one. But the yeast choice for that one is important. The cold IPA with 3470 is fantastic. Let's see. So that's my take on cold IPA. I think they're fantastic. I think you should definitely brew one if you want to. Summertime is a great time to do that. And summertime for you, Enclave, is coming up. For us, it's just ending. So they're not recognized by BJCP as its own style. The cold IPA isn't yet. Like hazy wasn't either until it like got really popular, the New England IPAs. But now hazy has its own category by BJCP guidelines. So I think they all kind of fall under the American IPA BJCP category, but they are its own. It's its own thing. I've used S33 for a bunch of hazy IPAs and it works great. Yeah, are you thinking S33 or S23? 33 was the typo on there. I think you meant S23. Hazy IPAs and works great. Um, I used Fermentus K97 in a hazy. Oh, you just used that one. How'd that work out? I don't know that I've ever used K97 either. to be honest with you. There's so many different yeasts. Like honestly, it's you just go down a rabbit hole with different yeasts. And I've been using a lot of Omega yeast because my local homebrew supply store carries that. They used to carry Imperial, and I've tried a bunch of those. I don't think they carry as much Imperial stuff anymore. But the Omegas they do, and I really do like Omega's yeast a lot. And Imperial, to be honest with you. It's not bad, just different for sure. Brandon Bell. Um, Yeah, the name came from that. So the name came from I'm a city planner for my real big kid job. So I just created this as kind of a tie into that. So the all my names that I name these things, which I don't really call them that on my channels, but the names. But when I actually name a beer, it's usually like city planning terms or city terms of some sort, just because it kind of plays with the Cityscape Brewing a little bit. That's where that's where the name Cityscape Brewing came from. Yeah, it's a I like to try different styles like that when something's new and different and that kind of thing. I honestly think that the homebrew channels and stuff have done a pretty good job of covering cold IPAs a little bit, but I will say that the commercial breweries have not caught up to the for them, people are just now coming out with cold IPAs. And so to me, there are a lot of like craft brewers that just haven't done one yet. They haven't done it. So I think the I think that the cold IPA is kind of something you'll see gain more popularity because people are kind of okay, everybody has a hazy, everybody's got a pale ale and a West Coast, but what makes it a little bit different? One thing I think that some of the bigger breweries, Bell's has a fantastic cold IPA, by the way. Bell's Brewing. When I first started brewing my cold IPA, that one I got as part of a kit, or not a kit. Uh, I got the cold IPA from Bell's in a traveler pack of different beers that they had. Uh, they had a hearted variety pack. That's what it was. And I think one of them was a cold IPA, and theirs was fantastic. Theirs was really good. But I like Bell's in general. Their Bell's brewing is fantastic. It's really, really good. And they use Bell's Two Hearted Ale as like the BJCP style guideline for like what an IPA should actually taste like. And I think it's easily one of the best IPAs. I like it better than Torpedo from Sierra Nevada. Bell's Two Hearted is by far my favorite IPA, period, hands down. But that's because they have that kind of proprietary yeast that they use. But you can actually buy Bell's yeast on their website. If you're local in the United States, you can buy Bell's yeast from their website. And it's Imperial A62, but Imperial doesn't sell it for them. They just make it for them. You can buy it though in their packs, like their homebrew packs, on their website. But you have to pay for the shipping, and it's ridiculous for the cold yeast to be shipped to you. So the better option is just because they don't filter their beers, like get it out of their bottles. That's what I would do. That's how I've done it in the past. And I will say, when you brew their beer with their yeast from their bottles, it's so much different than using a different yeast. It's a game changer. Like try it out. I recommend it because you'll realize how important the yeast is for the recipe. You could have the recipe like down pat, right? But if you can't replicate their yeast, like it's not going to taste the same. It'll taste similar, but it's not going to be the same. It's just not. The yeast makes a big, big difference. K97 is a great German yeast, but it's a great cheap yeast for hazies. Got a recommendation for uh, Genius Brewing. You know what? I think I saw that one actually. Did he do that in a video? The K97. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember that. If he did that in a video, I think that's where I got put in. I think that's where I've actually, I'm almost 100% sure that's where I started doing ascorbic acid because they were recommending doing that in one of their videos for preserving beer and scrubbing out oxidation. And I will say, man, ever since I've been doing it, it's a really good deal. Like it makes your beers great from start to finish. Hardly get oxidation in the beers. I'm pretty careful about, you know, preventing oxidation by purging, my kegs, or I don't purge the bottles. Nobody does that. But as long as you nobody's gonna purge a bottle. But if you purge the keg a little bit, or a fermenter that you're going into first, it will kind of create that little blanket. Um, London Fog is 100% the best yeast for hazies. I 100% agree with you. That is, I've used, 1318 London Ale 3 from others that, whatever, but my favorite hazy yeast is London Fog, followed very closely, though, by Verdant yeast from, is it Law Brew? Law Brew makes Fermentus, or not Fermentus, Verdant yeast, Law Brew, I think it does. But yeah, London Fog is by far every single hazy that I have varied from. My favorite is London Fog. You just did a great video on 10 or 12 dry yeast, and that's where I heard the K97 and S33 for hazies. You know what? I will say that's a good experiment to do. That's one that people don't experiment enough about, is not hazies in general, but is yeast choice. Um, there was a who was it that was doing that? There was a I can't remember where I heard this. There was a place that did like the same beer, and they brewed the exact same beer. I think was it White Labs? Something like that. I was talking to a rep or something like that from White Labs or somebody else, and I can't remember. And they had like 33 different beers, but they're all the exact same blonde ale. And they were trying to come up with like the best hazy yeast period. And they had all of the beers were fermented with all different yeasts, and they had like 33 different ones. And they found out that it really wasn't the yeast that was, or the like the proteins and stuff, like using like flaked oats and stuff for hazy IPAs. It was actually like a strain in the yeast that made the beer hazy. And so they had the same beer, and how awesome would that be to go through and like taste the different ones like that. Now White Labs, you can go to, they have a Asheville, North Carolina location, and I've been there before, but and they have two beers, and they'll brew the same beer, these two beers with like two different yeasts and stuff. Well, what I didn't like about it was I thought it would be the exact same beer but two different yeast. But no, it's like two different beers, and they have two different yeasts, so it's like it's two different beers, period. Right? I wanted it to be like this is a pale ale, and this is the same pale ale but with a different yeast in it. And they didn't do that. It doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really help like identify the yeast if it's not like that. It really needs to be like side by side, like the same beer but brewed with a different yeast, right? But I agree with you, Brandon. Dry yeast has come a ton, right? Used to buy only like certain clean ales and maybe some German yeast and stuff like that. But now, like, you can buy dry hazy yeast, and now White Labs is coming out with like most of their flavors of yeast in dry packets. It's crazy hazy in dry. It's you used to never be able to find those before. Now you can find them all over the place. I agree, Brandon. The Verdant is phenomenal. Probably one of my favorite dry yeasts, especially for a hazy. But I had it in a West Coast ale, but it was also um, hazy in color because of the yeast, of course. And the guy was like, I'm not really happy with this because it didn't come out clean like I was hoping. I didn't realize it was going to be, as cloudy as it was. And this was at a commercial brewery, and I was like, you know what, dude, this is fantastic. I love it. Even I don't care if it's clean. It's delicious. I would brew this all day long again. So that's kind of where I got the idea of using Verdant for the hazies, and I know a lot of people do that. But Verdant in a different beer is awesome too. It doesn't have to be that juicy, you know, thicker mouthfeel. It could be that West Coast IPA and still be awesome. Still be really, really good. Greg, are you asking how I got started brewing in period? Like how I got started in general? I used to, yep. Something about my Oktoberfest with fruity came up with it. So one of my first beers that I ever made was a Oktoberfest, but I used a different yeast because I was doing extract kits, and that actually ended up being one of my favorite beers I brewed back then. I'd like to taste my beers back then, like with my palate now. I guarantee, like back then, I was like, these are fantastic, but then I'd be like, were they though? You know, like if I tasted them now, I'd probably be like, they're okay. Um, but Greg, if you were asking about my like why I got started brewing in the first place, and how I got started, it's because I bought when I got married, I bought all of my groomsmen in 2012. I bought all my groomsmen a Mr. Beer kit, and I bought myself one too. And I brewed a beer on it, and I thought it was really cool about brewing a beer in my house. And my friend of mine that wasn't in my wedding was a good friend of mine though came over and I made him try my beer, and I think it was just like a pale ale or whatever we got in there, and he was like, "Well, it's beer, but you should come and see what it's like." One of my friends does all grain brewing. Come try it out, and so I went over there and I watched them brew a beer, and wasn't ready to take the plunge into like all grain. To me, that was like way overwhelming the first time I went over there. But the so I started out like talking about wanting to do like a extract kit, and because I was talking about it a lot, my wife a couple months later bought me a whole um kit in the from I can't remember what it was from. It wasn't even from like a normal website that we normally buy from. I can't remember what the name of the place was, but she bought me a whole kit. I think it was like Monster Brew or something like that. I can't even know. Is that even a thing anymore? But it was back in again 2012 for Christmas. She bought me a whole like extract kit. So it had the glass fermenter. Well, I think it just came with buckets. It actually came with a bottling bucket, a regular bucket. I did buy a glass fermenter later, and then it had a I can't even remember what the extract kit that came with it, but it had like the can of extract. You ever had those before? But they and it was like liquid. The I've done liquid extract a lot, and there's dry extract and there's liquid extract, and it's like a syrup. It's like a really thick syrup, and I got that one. My wife again bought that one for me, and so I brewed a couple batches, and I just so happened to live really close to Sierra Nevada, and so or not Sierra Nevada, we were just talking about Sierra Nevada, to Northern Brewer, and there's another one, Midwest Brew Supply, and Northern Brewer and Midwest Beer Supply are still in existence, but they're owned by the same people now. But before they weren't, and so you could go into the two different stores and you could buy their kits there. So I would buy one of my favorite ones was Chinook IPA. There's another one that they had that was like Bell's Too Hard. They called uh Dead Ringer Ale. That's what they called it. Is a kit called Dead Ringer Ale. Um, that was fantastic. I brewed that one. And so I started really getting into the extract beer kits, and then eventually, after several years of brewing extract, believe it or not, I got into all grain brewing. And then I really started getting into like the fermentation temperature control, which changed my beer completely. Then I got into because I was like brewing awesome beers in the wintertime and not really sure why I was brewing crap off flavory beers in the summertime. And it really had to do with fermentation temperature control. And back then I didn't really have a whole lot of like YouTube channels to look at to like, hey, what kind of why does my beer taste like crap? You know? So like those are when I started the channel, my whole goal was like I wish this stuff was around when I was brewing and starting out. Like hopefully I can prevent people from like brewing as many bad batches of beer as I did right away. And I wouldn't say they were that bad. They were drinkable, but they still had off flavors. I had to dump a couple right away. Some of them were just like I mean I would drink them, but they were like you know. And so and again, the ones that were in the middle of the summer, even though I had a basement and I lived in Minnesota, so it was a little cooler, even though in the summertime than it is here and when I live in the Carolinas, it was still way too warm in you know, some basement closet than it should have been. And so it wasn't terribly hot, but it was hot. It was hotter than it should have been. Hope I can get those yeast from my hazies in South Africa. Sucks. Yeah. The Verdant yeast you should be able to get. That's by Lawbrew Verdant yeast. And so that one, I mean, you can ship that from like wherever. Let me see. Verdant. That I think this comes from overseas in Europe and stuff. Yeah, so like this is the packet. I'll show you here. Um, Enclave. This is it. So it's the Lullamond Lullamond. It's Verdant IPA. Awesome yeast. This one will ship. You can do it warm, and it's not going to cost you anymore. For here, it's like $7. I don't know what you're going to get to go over there, but it's that's a great yeast. Awesome one to do in a hazy. And my main experience with those is sticky goop cans. Yeah, honestly, I had I used to take the when I used to use the liquid malt extract that it would come in some of them kits, and I learned to just fill up a sink of hot water or like let the water run over the jugs because I used to put them in like milk, like half-gallon milk jugs, and so they'd be like full, plumb full, but they would be like a sticky syrup in there. So to get it to like dislodge from the side of I would warm up the syrup in like a warm water bath in my sink before I'd brew with it. And then when I brewed, yeah, I actually had to shut the burner off on my burner because when you pour the syrup, it just goes like straight down to the bottom and it would like burn on the bottom of the kettle if you weren't careful. So, and it would foam up a lot as you used it too. I mean, dry malt extract does that as well. But that stuff would go right down the bottom. So what I would do is just shut off the burner. I'd pour on all that syrupy stuff while I was mixing it at the same time. But at the same time, it would be really sticky, So try to get as much off of the sides as you can, and you're hanging over the top of a burner and it's hot. So I would soak them in water, but that's what I remember of doing that when I was doing those liquid malt extract ones. Pretty crazy. I think it's like three or four when it's three or four all, and then you went to all grain. Okay, three or four, and then you went to all grain. I will say the switch to all grain was a big deal. I was a little overwhelmed at first. I think like everyone is. You think it's like way too difficult, and you have to know all this chemistry and stuff, and it's like it's not. Same thing like when you would like go in to do water additions. Once you kind of understand it, and you can kind of step through the process of doing water additions and adding water salts. It's super easy. It's not hard at all. Honestly, I think that um, it's kind of one of those things that like people kind of get intimidated by a little bit, but it's once you do it a couple times, it's super simple, and it just brings your beer from like good to great. Like it's one of those like next steps. Like all these little things add up to making like okay beer to now good beer when you get to fermentation temperature control. Excuse me. Then you go all grain brewing as a next step up. You got so many more options with different malt choices and stuff. And you get to dial in your mash temperatures a little bit better because you can make a drier beer or a more malty beer. You can't do that as much with dry malt extract or liquid malt extract. And then the next step up is using water additions. And so fermentation temperature control all day long. Very first thing you should do. After that, it's water additions and pH of your mash. And when you get that stuff dialed in, you're like, the reason those are important is because you're kind of mimicking the water profile of where those beers were kind of invented, and they didn't always add water additions back in like you know Pilsen in the Czech Republic when the Pilsner came out or Czech Pilsner came out, right? And then so you're kind of mimicking the water in those areas, and that's what makes the beer taste like the beer, right? And so it's really important to kind of mess with that. Like you can have good brewing water, but your water is not the same as where that beer came out. And a good example of that is Sierra Nevada. So Sierra Nevada is from the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, and they would when you brew their beer, they're using their water there. But when they opened up their second location, which is in Asheville, North Carolina, they actually had to mimic the water of Sierra Nevada in California. So they can't have this two different water profiles because their beers would taste totally different. So they actually have to change their water to be the water in California. So their beers taste the same no matter where you get it, whether you get a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale here or Sierra Nevada Pale Ale in California. It's going to taste the exact same because they have the same water chemistry in their water. So speaking of, I'm talking too much and I'm not drinking enough, so I need to have. I'm actually gonna have. Well, no, I'll drink the rest of this one. So I only have a little, probably less than a pint of my hazy left, and then I've got down the hatch. I've got my Mexican lager in there. Yeah, I don't even have a pint left. Ooh, such a good beer. I love this beer. Again, if you are not a channel member, become a channel member, hit that join button and get this hazy IPA recipe because it is fantastic and you get all those exclusive recipes. I think I have 3 recipes for members on there right now. We just started doing this a couple of months ago. I'm going to put another one on next week or the week after, one of the two. I have another recipe where I don't always share my best recipes on my website or on my Facebook page. I said that twice now. On my YouTube channel, not Facebook page. I don't have a Facebook for my Cityscape. I do have an Instagram though. So if you're on Instagram, check out Cityscape Brewing on Instagram. But the but on my YouTube channel, I don't always share my like best recipes I've ever made. But I am gonna start doing that for channel members. So I brew good recipes and I put them on there, and I brew 2 style recipes for some things, but I kind of keep some of my favorite recipes to myself. So, but for channel members, I've started, you know what? Hey, guess what? You want to invest and you want to support the channel, you're going to get those too. So I'm starting to slowly put out more and more of the videos for channel members in order to get those awesome recipes. So this hazy one is one of the first. I got a different one up there now. There's an awesome pale ale recipe I just put up there. So we're gonna have more and more of those things coming out, and as a channel member, you'll get those. So if you're Enclave or your Thai, you're gonna get those right away, man. Because Larry that was on here, if he's still on here, you're gonna get those too because channel members will get those automatically, just like the videos that are up right now. You get those early, just like everybody else. Asheville is also a mecca for craft beer. Yes, Brandon, you're absolutely right. Um, Water in this area is really good for brewing beer. So I'm only 2 hours from Asheville. In our area, we have really good, like for instance, the Pilsner that I made right now. I didn't add any water additions to it because it's perfect exactly the way it is. Our water. Now I add water additions to most things, but for the Pilsner, I didn't need to add anything. The water's hard. It's nice. It's great for brewing. Um, in this area. So I think yes, that's why Sierra Nevada chose Asheville to go there. Their place is immaculately cool. If you've ever been there, it's well worth the visit if you've never been to Asheville. But yes, there's a bunch of breweries for that reason, probably because the water's good, but also I think it's kind of a hippie little town. And there's just a lot of little craft breweries. People come from all over the place to go to the mountains and kind of visit. So people from Charlotte area, it's so close. They go up to Asheville to get away from the heat a little bit because it's a little cooler in the mountains than it is in Asheville or in Charlotte area. It's not much cooler, but it's anyone's going to do anything for 5 to 10 degrees. And so they go up there and spend the day. You can spend the night there. You can come back. But it's a cool way to get out of the city a little bit in Charlotte or in Greenville or something like that that's closer to them. And you can get a cabin not too far away. There's like a mansion. I can't remember the Biltmore Hotel, which is super like big attraction that they have there. But yeah, there's a ton of different breweries there, and that's part of the reason because you could just walk down, go to you can hit like 12 breweries, like in walking distance of each other. It's fantastic. There's a bunch of them. There's dozens of them, but they all are really good. I have a lot of favorites that are there. Wicked Weed kind of sold out. They're like a bigger brand now, but they have 2 locations there. They have a regular Wicked Weed, and then they have the Funkatorium, and the Funkatorium only does like wild sours, like not kettle sours. They're very sour, but I wasn't super impressed with that because they were like warhead sour. They were like very sour. Um, but some people love them. I mean, there's a lot of people that are drinking those things. And so, but yes, Asheville is a absolutely beer mecca. And you'll hear Homebrew for Life. He talks about it all the time. That's where Clawhammer Supply is up there as well in Asheville. And so, if you want to visit craft breweries, that's the place to go for sure. Oh, you decide to make a beer every month, but always run out. Yeah, I brew probably twice a month, average or so. Some months I'll only brew one, but I'm almost brewing two a month or so. But I like I said, I give away a lot of my beer at different places. Jack Kane, man, welcome. Yes, I do harvest and reuse yeast. Actually, I just did that with a Pilsner to a Vienna, and actually tomorrow is a video that's coming out about that. I just reusing the trub from one beer to the next. I do have a different video on how to like wash yeast if you want to. That one doesn't include washing yeast. This one's just like pitching the trub in one beer to the next and how I do it and why that works and why it's important. So that one's actually coming out tomorrow at noon Eastern time. But yes, so sometimes I do. You have to use the yeast though if you're going to save it. Like so, if you can't save the, or if you can't brew right away to like pitch on top of it or in a different fermenter, um, you can put it in like sanitized mason jars, like just the whole trub. Nothing wrong with saving the entire thing and pitching a different beer. If as long as that's not like super hoppy, you don't want a lot of like the vegetal matter from a lot of hops getting in there. But or you would maybe want to wash it if that's the case because you can reuse it there. But yeah, it saves you a ton of money. Also, this is something that breweries do all the time, like large commercial breweries and even craft breweries. They will reuse their yeast because that's a one of the most expensive per volume things that they have to buy. And so you'll actually find out is that when you reuse your yeast, or even your whole trub, like I did this last time, and I have like I said, you'll see in this video, the yeast takes off so fast. I mean, within like 5 hours, I had a full Krausen on my Vienna lager, and that's at lager temperatures, right? So we're in the when I pitched that in, it was in the 60s. When I got it, when I was in the 50s, like that thing had already dropped a couple of points. It took off immediately. I already had a Krausen again this thick all the way across the entire beer in 5 hours, which is crazy. Usually it takes like 12 hours. You'll see like some activity and stuff. If you pitch like a new one without a starter or something, very cool. So yes, Jack, I do that all the time. I shouldn't say I do that all the time. I do that often. But if you can't use that trub within 4 weeks, you should not reuse it. You should just pitch another one or make a starter. But if you can use it within 4 weeks, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. Baltimore is really cool. I haven't been to Baltimore before. That's a city I need to visit. I have to hit the whole New England area more. I've been up to New York and South basically, but I haven't hit any like Boston area, all that kind of stuff. I really do want to go and visit a lot of that New England area. Yeah, Sierra Nevada is awesome. Oh, Biltmore. I said Baltimore. I read that wrong. Biltmore. Yeah, Biltmore is cool. I've been to Biltmore. I've been to Sierra Nevada. I think Baltimore. I went to Wicked Weed in Nashville a while back. Pretty cool brewery. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. They've got two different levels in there, but there's a lot of different like neat little hole in the wall places there. They also have New Belgium Brewing in there too, so you can hit Sierra Nevada and New Belgium. New Belgium actually, if you take their brewery tour, you have to sign up for it. You in Sierra Nevada, you can take like a self tour or you can take a guided tour. Both of the guided tours for Sierra Nevada and New Belgium, you have to sign up for. If you do the Sierra Nevada or the New Belgium one, there's actually a slide that you take from one level to the next inside of the brewery tour, which is kind of cool. So you can do the slide inside of there. But the difference is New Belgium's brewery tap room is not attached to their brewery, which I wish it was. Cause like that's kind of the experience of going to these places, like kind of seeing like the process. And if you're just going to their tap room at New Belgium, you don't get to see that, which kind of sucks. So I wish that was different, but it's not. Never washed yeast. Does vegetal flavors carry over? Not often, Brandon. So if you use a lot of hops, maybe, right? And it depends on if you're dry hopping in a bag or if you're dry hopping, just dumping them in. And so for me specifically, I use dry hop bags. Excuse me. I use dry hop bags so they are tied shut. So most of that vegetal matter stays inside of the bag. If you don't, and you just dump the hops right in your fermenter, well, then that stuff's going to go to the bottom and it's going to end up in the trub. So the short answer is if you do if you just dump them in, then yes, those vegetal flavors can carry over. But I wouldn't worry about it too much if you only do like an ounce or two. If you don't do any, then you don't have anything to worry about, right? If you do a lot, if you're doing like a hazy IPA and you're trying to reuse it and you're doing it in the same hazy IPA, I wouldn't worry about that either. But if you're going, what I would generally do is if you're using like a light beer and then you're going to a like say you brew like a or even you're using like a clean ale yeast and you like brewed a blonde ale and then you want to go to like a pale ale and then you want to go to a IPA of some sort. You could do it in that order because it's like less hops to somewhat more hoppy to somewhat more hoppy, right? And so in that order, you could keep using that yeast. And a lot of breweries will do that. And they'll use the yeast 5, 6, 7 times. And then they'll start like seeing how many yeast cells are still viable to see if the yeast is still going. But I will tell you the third and fourth version of that beer is actually better than the first two. So if you can reuse that yeast and reuse that yeast and reuse that yeast, it's like they've replicated. You're creating like a small army of yeast cells, and there's so many by the time it gets to third and fourth that it actually like is super fast. It cleans up the beer really good and actually tastes better on its like third or fourth rendition. And so a lot of breweries will use their yeast, half a dozen times, sometimes, depending on how long in between their beers they go. Yeah, so the video comes out tomorrow at noon for that one. It's a pretty short one. That one's, a 5-minute video. It's quick. That one, there's not a lot to it. It's just kind of showing you how I do it and why I do it the way I do it. And so that one is kind of in precursor to my Pilsner and Vienna Lager videos that will be coming out in on next Monday. Or if you're a channel member, you'll get a little early because I'm going to be done with that video editing on like Wednesday-ish, I think. And then it'll be on the channel. If you're a channel member, you get those videos early and you can watch them whenever. You also get the recipes like this hazy IPA recipe, like the exclusive one. So you can hit the join button and it's like a couple bucks a month is all. And then you get all the cool perks of becoming a cool member and you get like a green thing next to your name like Enclave and others have that are channel members. So you get all the cool perks of being there and it helps out the channel a lot, man. I'll tell you what, it takes a lot of work doing the channel, and for you guys putting in a couple bucks, it's all it costs you, but you guys get a lot of perks and helps me. So I want to help you guys out. And so, this is why I do the live streams too, because this doesn't bring in anything for me. It doesn't like this doesn't do much as far as like, monetary wise. It doesn't do anything really. It's a couple bucks, but I like just shooting the crap with people and giving them tips and talking about beer brewing and answering questions. Like to me, it's like a hanging out and having fun, and that's what it's all about. So this is why I do the lives, right? It's not about the money. It's really just about hanging out and having a good time and actually giving something back to the brewing community a little bit, like talking about it. I wish people would like I could have asked a bunch of questions when I first got started, but like YouTube wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. Like in 2012, 2013, I think that's when like Homebrew for Life and stuff were getting started, and I watched probably some of their videos, but there wasn't really like a video that like showed start to finish, like here's the entire process of brewing, everything you need to know. So when I started my channel, I was like, I'm putting that up like first. That was like my second video I ever made. First one was on like equipment. second video I ever made was my how home brewing 101, or how to all grain brew, right? It's 47-minute long video, 47-minute long. But that still is my most popular video and gets probably the most views most weeks than any other video on my channel, which is awesome. I love that. I love it. Even though there are things that I would like change if I did it again, I think it's like the best thing that is the best video, because like I wish I could have watched my own video, 10 years ago. you know, like go back and like learn all the stuff that it took me like a dozen years to learn in brewing. DNF, man, appreciate it. That's what it's all about. That's what it's about, man. It's learning. It's doing the brewing. It's asking questions. It's helping you guys. I hope you make better beer than I made when you get started than I did when I got started. That's what's all about, man. Yeah. So the also, if you are just joining us and you've never gotten a sticker, feel free to hit or send me an email. There's a thing that's going to be coming across the. Oh, look at this! It's coming across the bottom right here. Want a free sticker? Go ahead and awesome Enclave, man, dude, you are the bomb. 5 Cityscape Brewing members coming in, man. I appreciate you doing that. That's so cool. But yeah, if you want some free stickers, email me your name and your address to this email address that's coming along the bottom right here, cityscapebrew@gmail.com. So Cityscape Brew, not brewing, so cityscapebrew@gmail.com. I'll send you some stickers, throw them on your keyser, throw them at different breweries. That's awesome. Enclave, dude, you're the bomb, man. I appreciate you. That is so cool. But yeah, so the look at that. Sonny's now a member. Bobby and Casey and Joe and JRL. That's awesome. So those guys are all members now. You can be one too. You'll get those recipes, hazy IPA recipe like I'm drinking right now that I've been raving about. And a couple of others. I'm putting out another one next week, and then you get to watch those videos early. So the True one that we are just talking about is on my channel right now. So channel members, they get those as well. So you can go watch that right now if you're a channel member. If not, you gotta wait till tomorrow. But again, those next videos that I put up, like the Vienna Lager, the Pilsner, I just filmed and I'm almost done editing. I'm like this close to I'm talking about the top 5 off flavors that you get from your process. So not just off flavors from like yeast, like we were talking about earlier, but like process off flavors. So we're talking like diacetyl. We're talking about things that will happen during fermentation. We're talking about different things that you can prevent by doing things a different way in your beer. So the top 5 off flavors, oxidation, things like that. Those things will be in that video and are kind of more in depth about why you get those off flavors and how to prevent those off flavors. That one is I'm editing it right now, and I'm going to be putting that one up soon. But that one for regular people and not channel members, those will not be on until September, right? So I'm going to be maybe another month, but I'll probably have that video done editing this week. So as soon as I put it on my channel, the channel members get to watch it right away. If you are a regular subscriber, you'll get to watch it, but it'll be every 2 weeks when my videos come out, right? So I'm putting out 2 videos this week. So for everybody, they'll get a little bit of a bonus because I'm doing the True one kind of, and then I did one 7 days ago. So the last 3 weeks I'm putting one a week out, but most of the time my videos are every 2 weeks on Mondays, and then I'll do different shorts and other stuff in between there. But the regular long form videos are every 2 weeks. So when I do my Pilsner, 2 weeks later, you get the Vienna Lager. 2 weeks later, you're going to get the 5 off flavors. So you're going to have to wait a whole month, basically, or a little bit more than a month, 5-6 weeks before you're going to get the 5 off flavors. But if you're a channel member, you're going to get that right away. So how cool is that? But man, dude, Enclave, you're the best. You're the bomb. I love you. The next beer that I'm having here, though, and I'm going to have is my Mexican lager. And if you haven't tried that beer, if you haven't brewed that beer, and it's still summertime or going to be summertime if you're Enclave, Go brew that beer. Awesome summer beer. Really cool. That one's got a little bit of a lime flavor because of the Motica hops we put in there. But that one is just a straight up awesome Mexican lager. You don't even need a lime wedge because there's a little bit of a hint of lime in there. Just a little hint of lime in the back end, but that's what makes it good. It's like a Corona with the lime already in it. But hey, I'm gonna go use the men's room here in just a second. Go grab yourself a beer while you're waiting. Enclave, you're the best. And leave any questions and stuff in the comment section here. So when I get back, we'll answer some questions. But I'll be right back. Give me about 2 seconds, okay? We'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Got to do what a man's got to do. So we're back. So I'm going to finish up this hazy and we're going to do the Mexican lager next here. So yes, you got to. I should have some like intermission music or something like that when I got to do that. So usually like right before I go on, I'm like I got to use the bathroom really quick so I can not have to go for like an hour or two. But we're drinking the whole time, so it's something that's gonna happen eventually. And like every single live stream, there's a point where I'm like, all right, guys, I've been talking too much. I gotta go. I gotta go for a minute. Yeah, man, Casey, man, you got gifted a membership. Welcome, welcome. You're VIP now, thanks to Enclave, dude. Cool, cool. Yeah, so the when now you get to go check it out, you get the member perks. So go check out the post section, and you can get all of the members recipes that are up there. And again, there's going to be one next week too on there. So there's a few of them on there right now. We've just started doing this a couple of months ago. So I'm usually going to put out like one VIP recipe a month is what I'm thinking. Um, and then for channel members, and then you'll get my videos early. So now you'll be able to watch the Troop video right now if you want to, because that's on there already. You'll be able to watch my Pilsner video in like a day or two, because I'm going to have that one done hopefully tomorrow. I'm going to try and I already have my Pilsner tapped, but I gotta let it. I'm letting it condition, and I'm trying not to rush it because I want it to be awesome. But it's been sitting there for like 30 weeks in the keg, so I need to get that one going. That one's almost done. And then my Vienna lager is going in a keg whenever I taste the Pilsner one at the same day. And then that one's got a couple of weeks to go. So that will be end of August, which is about perfect for a nice fall beer if you want to brew a Vienna lager. So that one. But if you're early, again, that Vienna lager will be done sooner. You'll be able to watch that video sooner. And the 5 off flavor ones, because that one's coming out this week. Because I'm getting that one's almost, that's like 80% edited. I just need to edit like the last little bit. And I got a better microphone. My lavalier mic that I was using before was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as I thought it was. And I got a really good one from Rode, which is a um, wireless Me one. And I'll tell you what, the difference in quality is like way different. It's way better. So that one, so I've updated my camera this year. I've updated my microphone this year. So I'm investing in the channel and in you guys. So that's gonna be cool. That's awesome. Enclave, you just hit different VIP status, man. You're awesome. So I do lives every other Saturday or every other Sunday, excuse me, at 8. So I don't do them every single week. They're every other. And some Saturdays I'll skip a Saturday if it's like Father's Day or Mother's Day or something like that, and I think people are just gonna be busy with their family, and I get busy with mine too. So it is what it is. So what I do is the what I do is every other Saturday or every other Sunday night on 8 p.m. And then you'll see though during the day that I'm gonna do the live, I put up and I schedule it, so you'll see it scheduled on my page. But usually it's every other week. So I'm gonna have one on. I'm doing one tonight, of course. Then I'm gonna have one on the 25th, and then I'm actually on the Brew Show. I'm doing his live on his channel on Musho with the Brew Show. You ever seen Trent's page? Trent Musho does the Brew Show channel. His channel's huge. He's an awesome editor too because I think he went to school for like movie editing and stuff. Is really good at doing that stuff. Like way better than me. I'm like rudimentary compared to the Brew Show. So he does. I'm going on his live though on the 29th. And that's a Thursday night on his channel. So go check out the Brew Show on the 29th. I'll be on there. I'm hoping to be able to do some giveaway stuff with them. We're talking through the logistics of that right now. If not, we're going to be doing that on my channel instead. But we're talking through that, so I'll let you know. So on the 25th, I'm going to do one, and then 2 weeks after that is the 8th, and I should be there then. Yes, and then the week of the 22nd, though, I'm not going to be there on September 22nd because I will be in Germany. I'm going doing a kind of a beer tour in Germany. We're going to 5 different cities in about 10 days. I'll be there from the 20th through the 28th, 29th, and we're going to be doing uh, Oktoberfest in Munich on the very first day. It's gonna be so freaking cool. I am so pumped. It's less than like I got a countdown on my phone. And it's less than like 40 days now or something like that. And so we're going to Munich in the or in Germany. We're flying in there. We're going to be there on the very first day that Oktoberfest is going on in Munich, which is like where the biggest festival in the world is. It's 6 million people visit there. So we're going to be there the first 2 days. Then we're going to the Czech Republic to Pilsen, where Czech Pilsners were, and Pilsner was invented in the Czech Republic, which is Pilsen. And we're going to be taking the brewery tour there and tapping a beer right out of the casks where they lager beer right at Pilsen, Germany, or in Pilsen, Germany, Pilsen, Czech Republic. Then we're going to Cologne, Germany, where Kolsch was invented. We're taking an 8-hour train ride to Cologne. We're there for 2 days there. We're doing a tour of that brewery and some other stuff, visiting some like Gothic, cathedrals and other stuff, seeing a bunch of cool stuff. Then we're going down to Paris for a day and then back up to Brussels in Belgium and doing a chocolate and beer tour on the last day, and then we fly out the next day. That I'm so pumped, dude. I am so pumped. I've got like a whole pile of like stuff that I'm already taking over there. I actually going to be doing a lot of like filming with my phone, so I'm not bringing my actual camera over there, but I'm going to be doing a lot of filming with my phone. And then doing a video of my whole trip. So I'm really excited to like share like the experience with you guys, like the brewery tours we're doing. I'm not going to film the whole tour, but I'll film some highlights hopefully. And Oktoberfest and chocolate beer tour, and I mean Kolsch tour, the train rides, the whole deal. I'm going to try to get a lot of stuff on camera, on video for you guys to kind of share the experience. I thought it was really cool when Trent Musho with the Brew Show, he went to, I think it was Sydney, Australia, and he took a ton of videos, went to visit some really good craft breweries and stuff when he was there, and he did a little video on it when he got back, and I was like immersed. I loved it. It was so good. And I was like, I really want to do that. And so I didn't even have this trip planned when I watch that. But that's going to be something I'm really looking forward to doing is sharing with some of that adventure with you guys when I get back. So it's really cool. Oh yeah, so that Rode mic, yeah, I got that one in a steal. I actually got it from a place that like gets items that people return back from the store, and I bought it for a discount. I got the thing as a $200 microphone, and I got it for $50. How awesome is that? And I bought like an insurance thing for like $7 to make sure it worked, but the thing works and fantastic. And so I plugged it in, charged them. They worked immaculate. I mean, it works awesome. So I filmed my last couple videos with that. They're the last two, so they won't be until like a couple of videos from now because I've got a couple already done. But you'll see that change pretty soon. But yeah, very very cool. Yeah, DNF man, it's gonna be such an awesome time. The closer it gets, the more excited I am. I've never been to Europe before. I'm going to the guy who used to live in Germany, so that helps because he speaks some German. But I think most people speak English there too as like a second language. We're like weird as the only country that doesn't have like a second language we speak, because like most people in Europe can speak multiple languages. And they're like, you only speak English? That's weird. But anyway, so we're gonna go there. And we're taking trains everywhere. It's gonna be awesome just to be able to like look out the windows and like see the different stuff, the terrain and where we're going and visiting these little small cities and picking people up. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, it's gonna be unreal. I can't even wait. Sonny, man, you're a new member. Welcome, welcome. Thanks to Enclave. He's the best man. Yeah, dude, I'm pumped. So as we're gonna keep doing these live shows. I might do an extra live show before I go. I'm gonna have videos already ready to post, and they're gonna be posting when I'm gone and stuff anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But as far as the trip goes, I'm hoping to like get a bunch of different footage, so I can share my experiences and pictures and all the other stuff. I'm actually buying a $130 pair of lederhosen to go to Oktoberfest. I mean, who when in Rome, right? So we got to do we're doing the whole get up. I'm doing the drindle. We're doing the lederhosen. I got the checkered shirt. I don't know that I'm gonna do a fedora yet, but I might just not do that. I have no idea. But I'm doing the lederhosen for sure. I mean, if I'm going flying all the way to Munich and going to Oktoberfest for 2 days, we're wearing the lederhosen. That's what it's all about. Definitely. And then I'm gonna probably wear it for like Halloween or something here too. But I'm not buying the cheap version from like Amazon. It's like $130. We're going legit goat skin lederhosen. Like legit. It's gonna be awesome. Enclave, we have 11 national languages in South Africa. I know English and two more. Yeah, I know, right? Like I know 4 words of Spanish and I took college Spanish and I know like nothing. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's funny because they teach in most of those European countries, they teach English as a second language, and it's just like a normal thing, right? Like we think about it as like a weird thing because in United States, you'll go to like high school and they'll do like, oh, do you want to take French or German or Spanish as like an elective class? But you learn like hey, how are you in Spanish? Like, hola, cómo está? But you don't use muy bien, y tú. But you don't do like full on actually speaking the language unless you get like several classes in. It'd be like to be taking a whole nother class every single year to be able to learn it. It's just crazy. Um, I wish that we did that here, to be honest with you. I actually think it's funny because in Canada, just north of us, they a lot of people know French because they do a lot when you're in the eastern portion of Canada and Quebec area and stuff, there's a lot of people who speak French. And so like the president, he'll speak um um he'll speak French and English in his addresses to the country. I mean, that's awesome. So that's cool. Anyway, so I'm done with my hazy IPA now that I've milked that one because I talked too much. But I'm going to be not tapping. I've already tapped the Mexican lager. So this one is that one that I was just talking about. This one is on my page already. This one has that little hint of lime in it. Really light colored lager. And this one I used the Mexican lager yeast from White Labs. Look at how freaking clear that is. You can see me. I'm talking through my glass. You can see me in there. So clear. So awesome. This one is a great beer. Like, look at how clear that is. You can see my whole head. So, very, very awesome beer. So this one's a good one. This one's already up. No matter if you're channel member or not, you can go get this recipe. So most of my recipes I'm still going to put on for most people, right? It's just the VIP ones that I don't share with everybody. Those are going to be for channel members. So Ty, Enclave, Sunny now, and others, you get to be. Or Casey is also now a channel member. Larry was on here earlier, uh, and others, right? So there's several dozen members now. That's awesome. So you guys all get the uh, the value of the channel, but that's cool because the it really, and I mean this very sincerely, it really does help because the YouTube, it's all about views and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to put stuff out just to put stuff out. I'm pretty consistent when it comes to like my videos and things and my live streams and things. I try to be as consistent as possible just so people know what to expect. But YouTube is, you don't make a living making beer brewing channels. Like if you wanted to like do tech reviews and stuff like that, you could get millions of views. But definitely not going to be uh, doing this full time as a beer channel, even at like the brew show level where he's got like 60,000 or 100,000 subscribers. You're not making enough to live on it. It's a couple $100 here and there, which is nice, but it's not anything that you put a lot of time and effort into the channel, and the channel memberships mean a lot. So I appreciate you guys doing all that. So but yeah, this Mexican lager is a good one. Go check it out if you haven't watched that video yet. It's a really, really awesome beer. I did this one with a brew club that I'm a member of, and we brewed this one, and we had like a Mexican day at the house, right? So I had burritos and tacos and nachos and different stuff like that people could make. We brewed the beer. We sat around the pot, watched it boil for a while. We chit chatted, had a good time. But this is a fantastic, fantastic beer. It's a good summer beer. Got that lager taste. Got that little bit of hint of lime in the back. It almost tastes like there's like a little bit of a salt flavor in there, but there's not. It's like that lager, Mexican lager flavor that's in the yeast. It's really good. Really good. I mean, there's like nothing to this beer because it's so light. I mean, it's mostly, base malt, and then you got flaked corn, and there's like zero SRM basically in flaked corn. I mean, there's some, but not very much. So it's very, very light. So it's really cool. But what I'm pumped about is I've only had like a couple of Hefeweizens in my time that I've really, really thought were like really good. And one was actually, excuse me, one was actually just the other day. And I was at a brewery, which on Saturday, which I was talking about earlier in the video, and I forgot to even talk about this now, but the we brewed on a commercial system on Saturday for my buddy who won an internal competition. And what we do is we work with some of the local breweries, and we say, hey, if you judge one of our competitions, would you brew one of the winning beers on your big system, to give like the home brewer a chance to like brew on a commercial system? So one of my friends won that commercial brewery, brewed his. He did a grapefruit blonde ale. It's a blonde ale that has grapefruit zest in it afterwards, and so that one is really good. He brewed that one, or he's gonna brew that one. Or excuse me, he did brew that one, and I was there helping him yesterday on Saturday for like 7 hours. It was awesome. So, but they had a Hefeweizen. This is why I even thought about the Hefeweizen. They had a Hefeweizen that was really good, and probably better than others that I've tried ever. And I can't wait to go to Germany to try Hefeweizen in Germany versus the few um, that I've tried over here that are really good, because I guarantee you when I go there, I'm going to be like, oh my God, this is like spoiling me for Kolsch and Pilsners and others, because they're just going to be so much better to style in these locations where they're like originated, right? I mean, I'm hoping that's the way it's going to be. I also learned that like when you go to like a brewery or a craft brew place in like Germany or others, they'll have like three or four styles on tap. But like you go to the United States, and if they don't have a dozen different flavors for you, you're not gonna like it, right? You know, so you go to a craft brewery place here, and they've got like over a dozen things on their board to choose from. But if you go in Germany, they're gonna have like four, and it's gonna be like Pilsner, you know, and like a ESB or a Bach beer or something like that. Like, but it's gonna be limited, right? It's gonna be limited to those couple of beers, and that's like super just common in their pubs and stuff. And so that's interesting to me because it's just very different than things here. Like I have four on my taps in my garage. Like four in a brewery or in a tap room is like crazy to me. But that's just because I'm used to like going to a place that has like a dozen beers on tap and you have like all these choices, right? But they're like, nope, we got these four good beers and that's it. Yeah, honestly, like, and it I can't wait. It's like going to the authentic versions, right? And what I will say, Enclave, like the I learned this too when I did the cold IPA. The cold IPA was invented by that Portland, Oregon brewery I was talking about called Wayfinder. But I actually preferred the beer that I had made more than their beer. And I've had other cold IPAs that are better than theirs, even though they were the original. They were the OG. They were the ones that invented it. But like people can perfect that same style somewhere else or do it differently and it's everybody's just perceived taste of that one style. So the thing I like about it the most is that like I really liked trying the original, and I had and shout out to Northwest Small Batch Brewing, who's another YouTube channel. He sent me those beers in the mail. Like I was like, dude, will you send me a couple of these? I'll pay you. And he's like, dude, just I'll send them to you. Just porch bomb me with a bunch of beers from back there. I'm like, hell yeah, I will do that all day long. So I sent him a bunch of beers plus one of my beers that I brewed for the cold IPA back to him. So that was awesome. Um, and then we can try them side by side. And I had a bunch of my friends try those, and they were like, "We actually like your beer better." That's crazy, right? But that's awesome. Like, who knew, right? Yeah. So, Casey, I didn't know it was like that over there either. Like, I didn't know that, but like, it's funny when you go see. I was like going on Street View the other day on like some of the places around where we're going to be staying. And I was looking at some pictures of some restaurants and stuff we might want to try when we're over there. And when we're clicking through the pictures of like the restaurants and the brew pubs and stuff that are like in the area of where we're staying, it was, they'd have pictures of like the tables and the chairs and stuff. And they would have a picture of like the taps and there'd be like four. And my buddy's like, yeah, dude, that's super common. Like he lived there for 3 years. So he's like, no, when you go into the places, they're gonna have like four choices, like four or five. If they have like 10, that's a lot. Like, but like you wouldn't even find a place that only has 10 beers here. Like it's you'd have a dozen minimum at most of the breweries you're gonna go to here ever. Like it's just the way it is that they expect you to have like a handful of your normal beers and then all these other weird ones. And so yeah, it's just the way it is. Do I have a favorite base malt? Yes and no. It depends on the style, but I use a lot of Pilsner and a lot of two row. I use white wheat a lot for my hazy IPA, or not my hazies. Well, I use some in hazies, but I use white wheat a lot for sours. But I think if I had to pick a straight base malt that I had to use like for like a smash beer, like single malt, single hop, I like Maris Otter a lot as well. So I don't think Maris Otter is good in like a Pilsner. Like I wouldn't swap that out. But I think if I had to brew it by itself with a different hop, I would do like Mosaic for hops, and I would do Maris Otter for grains, and then I would do maybe if I do like a smash beer, I would do a Maris Otter, Cascade, And then for a yeast, ooh, you could do all different kinds of yeast. But if I had to pick one, I might do the West Coast. Omega's West Coast one, which I think is OYL004. That's the one I used for Sierra Nevada's um, Celebration Ale, which is I think closest to their actual yeast without getting it from their bottles. Omega's OYL004, which is their West Coast Ale one. That's what I would use. But yes, I think Maris Otter is probably the most flavorful by itself. But I still use a lot of two row and Pilsner. If you had to pick one hop for a hazy IPA, would that be Mosaic, hands down? Uh, so the trick about a hazy IPA is not so. I like Mosaic hops, but I don't know that it would be the only hop. A hazy IPA, I do multiple hops, and not because of the characteristics that you see when you go look at the hop website and it has like, hey, it's got all these like different flavors in it. The difference for a hazy IPA is you're adding them at biotransformation in at high Krausen. So you're dry hopping at high Krausen, and that biotransformation is super important. And the oils that are in each of the hop compounds are very important. So um, I have a video last year. I did one, and I did one in the fall of last year, and then spring of last year. And it actually has. Let me see if I can find this. I want to show this to you guys because this is super important. So I just got to go to my Google Photos and find a picture real quick. So hops. So there's a chart that goes through all of the different hop. Here it is. It's not very. Look at that. Look at how fast I found that. So let me share this with you. This is going way over the top here, but so this is a chart that shows a lot of different hops. So you have Cryopop, which is one that they produce at like Yakima hops, but then you have Centennial, Equinox, Talus, Citra, Sabro, Mosaic, yada yada yada, all the way down, right? And these different colors represent a different hop oil that is found inside of each of these hops, right? So the ones that you want to pick for like a hazy IPA are Geranol, which is this green one, and Lilinol, which is this blue one specifically. There's other ones like 2-methyl by methylbutyrol, and then there's another one that is methyl geranate, methyl isobutate. This one I'm messing up the name of that one, but it's small, so I can't hardly read it. But all these hop compounds have a different flavor of whether it's apricot or pineapple or citrus fruit or tropical flavors, right? And so the most common ones that you would see are high in this geranol and lilinol, for instance, right? Those compounds specifically are going to be found in really high in some of these like Citra and Sabro hops got a lot of green in there, but also Centennial hops are actually really good for a hazy IPA. I like Mosaic a lot, but Mosaic on this one isn't found until like way down here, right? So it's not super far away, but it's also got a lot of these other oils in there. So there's a lot of different flavors going on in this one. So this isn't all hops. This is one variety of 1 year, and I think it was like 2022. So this isn't, but this gives you an idea of like why different hops have different flavors. But specifically in IPAs or hazy IPAs, these oils matter for those biotransformation. So when I'm making a hazy IPA, and why this hazy IPA that I put on my members only deal is important, is because I actually look at all of these different oils and what those flavors might be when they come out, right? So like a good example of this one is like this in Sabro. This has very little of the white. You see this white category here that every other hop has like a lot of this white area. Sabro has very little of it, which means that's that methyl geranate. And and I don't know, I have another page that shows like what oils will contribute to what flavors, but in this particular one, there's not very much of that one. And there's a lot more like yellow area. So this one's going to have a different flavor compound and it's got a lot more geranol than linalool. So if there's a certain flavor compound you're going, maybe this is the hop you want to go for, or maybe you want a lot more of these other ones, right? So it helps to combine some of those flavors together. So in this particular case, I wouldn't pick one hop for a hazy IPA. If I did, it might be something like everybody say like, oh, I like Citra. But to be honest with you, Centennial is an awesome one if you're biotransforming, because that might be the best one. It's got the most oils available for biotransformation. But Mosaic is one of my favorites for a hazy. I like Mosaic. I like Citra. I like uh, Cascade even sometimes. So there's a lot of different ones, but it's not an easy answer for there. So Galaxy's another good one. Casey, that's a good one too. So I mean, I went down the rabbit hole with that one, but you can imagine like there's a lot of stuff. And so these what you want to search for if you look for that chart online is it's called the survivable hop compounds. And so they're highly survivable oils in hops. And so that there's I think that one is it Yakima Valley that does that? It is I have those whole charts in the other room. Oh, it's Yakima Chief. Sorry, Yakima Chief hops. So like here's another one, right? Let me show you this one real quick. Um, so I'm gonna share my screen again. So like here's the survivable compounds by those specific oils, right? So this is those survivable compounds. This one's a 2021 breakdown. So you have these certain oils, like this one's isobutyl isobutyrate, and then 2-nanoninene, and then geranol, lilinol, 2-methylbutyl isobutyrate, methylgeranate, all these other different ones, and then 3-mexahec I call it like 3-MHL, but the 3-mecatohexanol. This one is really important, but it's on a really small variety. So they show it really large, but it's really really tiny on the other thing. It's like a little sliver. But some of these are the best for biotransformation. This black line here. So like you have Chinook is really good for that, right? And you have Sabro is also really good for that. Idaho 7, Comet, those kind of things. But these again are up there. But you have these other flavors that are uh, that do different things. So depending on what you want your hazy to taste like, you can choose hops that are high in these certain oils. And so, well, that's just the first place ribbon I got the year that year. But I have some other, yeah, like this is that other breakdown. And so that black one I was talking about is like, look at this little tiny sliver. You can hardly even see it on the bottom of these ones. That's what that one is. So it's a little compounded, but even if it has a little bit of that, it's got a lot of flavor. Like Sabro is a big one on that list, and it's just a little sliver. You can barely even see it on here. And so those are what you really want to look for on there. And let me see if I can find that sheet that shows what each one of these tastes like. But there's a sheet somewhere I have it that talks about like, okay, if you have this, one oil compound, it tastes like, you know, grapefruit or apricot or whatever. See if I can find that. It's in here somewhere, but I have a whole process. When I pick hops for a hazy, specifically for a hazy IPA, it's because of that. It's because like I'm pretty sure this will give me this flavor and based on this chart. And so it's not always perfect. Okay, here we go. So here, let me share this. I'm going down the rabbit hole for you guys in hazy IPAs here, but so you have these esters and ketones, and you have all these different oils in here, right? Methanol geranate, right? That was one of them on there. And so it's a drive from hop with survives brewing process. It lends a fruity and floral aroma and is usually only hop derived methyl ester that survives into beer. So then you get in these other ones and it talks about fruity, sweet, bitterness, all that kind of stuff. But you go down um, where's my next button? I thought I had, hold on, let me see if I can get another sheet up. Oh, there we go. So this one is like you talk about the other oil compounds and it does the same thing. Um, those are the thiols. That's not going to be that. Okay, so here's like geranol and linalool, which are the more common ones. So you know, linalool here, and it says an alcohol commonly used as a fragrance and flavoring, cosmetic, and candy. It has a strong fruity floral aroma, commonly described as similar to Fruit Loops cereal. It has high levels of linalool, can have a booster to increase fruity flavors in beer. Linalool is a beer soluble and commonly survives in the brewing process. And then geranol is like linalool, uh, and then it talks about being late boil and whirlpool additions. It's geranium like and citrusy, and thought to be at least partially biotransformed in certain stages of yeast, which it does. That's why a lot of people choose these two first. But there's other ones in here that talk about being more apricot or banana or pineapple and that kind of stuff. So when you have these type of hops in your hazy IPAs, the oil compounds are really important. And so unlike if I just chose a West Coast IPA, that's like hands down like, oh, I like Mosaic and Cascade, right? Well, that's cool because those are going to be like citrusy and floral, and no matter when you add them, that's the flavors are going to be. And a hazy is a little bit different because the yeast choice is really important because of that biotransformation, and the oils, because you're adding them at high Krausen, are really important because when you add them at high Krausen, the fermentation activity actually changes them into those fruit flavors. So that's why like those hazy IPs and stuff are very different, and that I just nerded out on. So you guys are all like, what did you say? But if you have questions, like leave them in the chat. I went way over. So, but yeah, so it's not a super easy answer. But yeah, that's where I would go with that. So Enclave, that's impressive. Some mango pale ale the friend last week. He's not a big fan. Dreading his review. Like the question, like to be in, know that too. Yeah, that's the hazy thing is not easy. I pick mostly different ones. Galaxy's a good one. Also, Casey said that one. Galaxy's a good one in hazies. A lot of people use Galaxy hops in hazy IPAs, and I really like those as well. Yeah, so yeah, same thing. So those hop oils are really important. Those are the ones that are going to change it. So Enclave is right on with that one. What is Trent YouTube channel? Oh, yeah, he's the Brew Show, Larry. I think somebody just said that underneath there. Yeah, Casey just said that. He's the Brew Show. So Brew Show is all one word is the Brew Show, but it's BRUSHO, but it's the Brew Show, all one word. You'll find it anyway if you type in Brew Show. But yeah, he's one of the more popular brewing channels. So I'll be on his channel on the 29th, and it'll be actually an hour later at 9 p.m. because he's on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, so it'll be 6 p.m. his time. It'll be 9 p.m. my time. I've had a I've had people certainly taste IPA tastes like weed. So that's true, Casey. In some cases, you can have um, dank flavors in hops, and so there are certain hops that are more likely to get dank flavors. One thing that I will say that is a lot of hazy IPAs and the hops that you choose can be dank flavored. Um, and the reason is because if they get left out in the sun. And let me tell you a funny story about that one. So I had an awesome IPA that I brewed, and I brought up to a homebrew festival, and we used those. If you watch my channel when I had the jockey box, so basically it's a cooler you make into coils of lines and stuff that are in the inside of the cooler, and it cools down the beer as it's coming from a keg, and then it goes through the lines and it cools it down before you like pour it out of the front of the cooler, right? And so you have ice in the middle, it cools it all down. But there are lines that stick out of the back that go down to the keg, and those lines at the homebrew festival were in the sun, and the sunlight changes the flavor of beer, and or excuse me, of hops in your beer. And even if it doesn't actually touch it directly, it could be just the light itself. And so when I was brewing, or when I was, excuse me, when I was serving beer to people, and I was tasting like a couple of tastes, some people were like, "Oh my god, it smells like weed," and I was like, "What?" So I was like, I tasted some and I'm like, oh my God, this stuff's like really dank flavor now. It's crazy. And that's because it was in the sun. And I realized that if I put a blanket over the top of those, or if I put like a little, like if I covered up the line at all, you wouldn't get that flavor anymore. If I ran the beer through it and I got all that out of there, you wouldn't taste the dank flavor. But because it was in the sunlight actually changed it to the dank flavor. So there are some breweries that are actually like shining light on their beers to get that weed dank flavor in their beer, but they're specifically going there. But there are certain strains of hops that have more dank flavor than others. But really funny experiment by accident that I did, finding out that that happens. So it really did. It smelled exactly like weed. It was crazy. It was, and that was an awesome IPA when it was drafted without being in the sunlight. But when it was in the sunlight, it changed the flavor completely. So very, very cool. Hot flowers do look adorable. Have you ever had a cool little thing, Sierra Nevada thoughts? I don't know if I've had cool little thing. I've had a lot of different of their other little things. And is that their cold IPA, the cool little thing, Brandon? I have no idea. I should go up there and taste that one because I'm going in there in a couple of weeks, so I might try that one or even look for it in the store. If it's a cold IPA, I want to try it. But they have a lot of different little things. So they have the hazy little thing and some other little. They've been doing that whole series lately, but they have the hazy little thing. I haven't tried the cool little thing. Hazy, I've had Cascade Centennial and the original one. I found no clue, but made a great beer. I love Cascade Centennial hops. I'm actually starting. I've actually bought a rhizome of Cascade. Rhizome is a root, a section of root of the hop plant, and so next year I'm going to be actually growing Cascade hops. So I'm really excited to get that. I'm actually going to try to plant it this year yet to try to get some root growth. I'm not expecting any growth from the plant, but I want to get some establishment going. So like next year I can maybe get a few hops off of it. But yeah, Cascade hops for sure. I'll be brewing a lot of Sierra Nevada because that's all they use is Cascade hops. I like Centennial too. It's harder to grow Centennial here just because it gets a little too hot for them. So I've heard there's a certain couple of hops that don't do well in the really, really heat, but they love sun and water. So you need to have sun, you need to water them twice a day. So I need to get on a schedule with that. But I'm growing Cascade hops. So those will be future videos next year as I get into growing hops for my channel. Bro's got the same counters as me. I wasn't aware of all these terms and hops. I know you're going down a rabbit hole, man. Welcome to Brewing 101, and I'm scratching the surface on half of this stuff. So there's people who are like experts at these hop oils and stuff, and I'm just winging it. Like I'm just reading the stuff that people print out for other people. But it's cool. You can go down a rabbit hole with them, but that's what you do when you get good at the other stuff. You can really start going on a rabbit hole of other things. But for right now, just use recipes that are good for people who are just getting started. Like, don't go down this yet because you'll get overwhelmed. I know exactly what you're talking about. We all have a past. 3 a.m. my time. Yep. Yeah, I hear you, man. Thanks for staying up and hanging out with us. Hey, you know what? I will say there are some decent dank beers. I'm not a huge fan of super dank beers. There's Wicked Weed because it's Wicked Weed. They have some dank beers and they have ones that are just called dank on purpose and because they are. And they're good. I mean, I will have one. I wouldn't drink three of them, right? I would have like one. I like some of the other beers better. Like Pernicious IPA is my favorite. That's just like a staple IPA. It's really good. But they have some dank beers, and I'll have one once in a while. I ain't too crazy about that. A cool little thing is a cryo beer. Okay, oh cool, man. I'll have to try that one. I don't know that I've ever had that one. The good thing about going to Sierra Nevada, Brandon, is and others who have maybe gone there before, is they have beers on tap at Sierra Nevada's tap room that you can't get anywhere else. So you can get them at the tap room, but they'll have a bunch of the other favorites, but they'll have like a handful of ones that are like, we're only brewing for this tap room here. So we're doing our like, little R&D thing and see how it goes, and then we might brew them like year round somewhere else. But for right now, we're just doing them in the tap room. So that's really cool. Like you get to try some ones that other people won't try if you're in their tap rooms. Casey, I brought two rhizomes too, along with coming along okay. What varieties did you get, Casey? Did you get a? I got Cascade, and only because I think that I could use a crap ton of Cascade because I'm gonna get a lot of it. I'm sure. I got some Cascade and Chinook seeds. I'm ready to see them grow. Were they, aren't cryo hops just more concentrated? Yes, absolutely. So what they are is they contain more hop oils, right? So they just contain less of the vegetal matter. They're basically just compressed so you get more of the oil, but they take more of that vegetal matter out. So they're basically double the amount of hop oils that are in there. So for every ounce or so of the regular hops they would use, it's a half ounce of cryo. So if you do an ounce of cryo, it's like adding 2 ounces of regular hops. It's basically double the hop oils. And the hop oils are what gives you the bitterness. It also is what does the biotransformation. So cryo has its place if you can get it cheaper. I don't use a lot of cryo. I just have a lot of regular pellet hops. I've got a freezer full of different ones. I've got Mosaic and Centennial and you name it. I've probably got it in my fridge. So, or my freezer right now. So I've got to just go through some of those. But I can't wait to get some fresh hops in there. That's for sure. Cascade and Centennial. That's where I would go, man. Those are the two that I would use the most. So if you're gonna get a plant, I that's what I would do. I have whole cone Zeus hops in my freezer that I've got from a friend, but I wouldn't use Zeus as much, right? So I use Zeus sometimes, but not very often. Um, there are proprietary hops like Citra. I think everybody would want Citra, but it's proprietary, so they don't sell it as rhizomes. You could probably get it somewhere on like the hop black market somewhere, but I don't know. The ones you can get readily available though are Cascade, Centennial, those kind of things. And Cascade by far is one that I would use all the time. Centennial I would as well. Um, I would use Centennial a lot, but I've heard that in my climate in the Carolinas here, it's a little too warm for Centennial, and so you don't get as good a yield because of that. So I opted to get Cascade, but that's where I'm at with it. But all righty, man, we are getting on here, going on a couple of hours. I'm gonna try to finish this one up here. I've got about a glass left of my Mexican lager. Any other questions you guys got? I will say one more time for people who are jumping on a little bit later. If you want a free sticker, send me an email at cityscapebrew@gmail. You'll see it coming across the screen at the bottom. Cityscapebrew@gmail. I'll send me your name and address. I'll send you a free sticker or a handful of them anyway, so you can stick them around. I also am going to be on the Brew Shows live stream on August 29th. So we'll be on that. Hopefully doing some giveaways. I've been talking about that, so we're still nailing down the logistics. If we don't do it there, I'll do it on my channel. That's cool. I've got a whole bunch of different hops and I've got an Inkbird temperature controller. I've got a bunch of stuff to give away. So and they're all brand new stuff. So we're going to talk through that. And then I've got a bunch of different videos and down the pipeline coming out. So I've got the Trube one that if you're a channel member, you get that one now. If not, it's coming out tomorrow. I've got the Pilsner that is ready to go. I just got to film the last little bit of me tasting that and giving you the honest review of how it turned out. I have not tasted it to date other than the little bit that was in the um, gravity reading, my cylinder when I was doing the gravity reading when I was kegging it, and that was before it was conditioned and stuff. And I thought it turned out pretty good, but we'll find out when I taste it later this week. But that one will be up next week for most people, channel members by midweek. And then I've got the Vienna Lager lagering. I've got the uh, top 5 off flavor ones that will also be on my channel this week. for channel members, but again, it won't be on my actual channel for most people until September. So you'll get a sneak peek way early on that one coming up soon. So uh, again, thanks for Enclave for hitting all the people up with the free memberships tonight, man. Can't help you. I can't thank you enough because that is helping out the channel a lot. And I tell you, that's giving everybody access to all that cool member perks, man, and they can see what it's all about. So yeah, Mexican lager just poured another one of those, finishing this guy off here. Look how crystal clear that thing is. So good. I like looking at these because these are like when I'm out in my garage, it's like so hot, and they get all yeah, there's a bunch of condensation. They don't look as clear. Like when I'm in my videos and I'm like, it's like 900 degrees in my garage, and it's like I pour a cold beer and it's just like instantly cloudy along the glass. But when you come in here, you're like, look at how crystal clear it is. You can like see me right through the beer. So awesome. But yeah, I'm super stoked to like start growing hop plants. I just hope that I can get them to keep growing because you gotta water them twice a day. They like it small bursts of water, not like all at once. So you gotta water them in the evening and then water them again at night. Did I bottle Mexican lager? No, I didn't bottle it. I actually filled this out of my keg. It's just a flip top bottle, so I didn't have to go back and forth to the my kegerator. Same with my hazy IPA. I have these on tap, but I just filled a couple of like flip top bottles from my um, keg. So I have the inner tap handles, so I can take off the little tip and fill it with the growler filler, and I don't need to turn down the pressure or anything. I just put the little growler filler tube and the thing on there, and then I fill up the bottles. And so that's how I fill up bottles for competitions and everything. It's you know it's super easy. Those inner tap handles are awesome. Um, if you're interested in the ones I got a video on like on those themselves. They also have the little spring closed ones, so they actually close by themselves. Worth their weight in gold. Those springs, they're like $2 a piece. They're like awesome. But I have all that in my Amazon store. If you want to check out the ones that I actually bought and use, those are in my Amazon link in the video description below. So those are the best tap handles ever. Like I barely have to clean them. I did clean them like a couple weeks ago. I put a post about that because the summertime they get all kind of gunky being out in the garage and stuff, and just the condensation on the outside gets kind of like moldy gross on the outside. But the beer stays in 3/4 of the inside of it, so it doesn't really get that dirty because there's just beer in there and it never gets touched by oxygen. It's just the little tip part, and you can unscrew that and wash those out specifically. So that's most of the time what I do. The other day I just took them apart because I was like, well, I haven't taken these apart in a long time. I probably stuffed just in the nooks and crannies, and sure enough, there was. But the inner tap handles are way better than the standard tap handles. They last. They're the forward sealing portion of it is just worth its weight in gold because you just don't have to clean them very often. It's just awesome. That's extremely clear. Clear. If you need any growing help, I'm here for you. I've got over 2 decades of growing these silly things. They can be a pain sometimes. Yeah, I bet they do. I heard you do have to cut them back because I do have a an area in my yard that has a garden, like a raised garden area. So they're not going to grow like outrageously huge, or excuse me, they're not going to grow all over the place because they're in this like contained box thing. But it's like raised on like the hill in the back of my yard. So at least it'll be in there. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna be looking into the pest and disease control because they get the powdery mildew and stuff, and that's pretty common in some places. So I'm gonna be reading a lot about that as I'm preparing next year. But I just want to get some root growth this year to like get them established a little bit. So that's kind of what I'm going for. But it'd be kind of cool. I'm excited to do some like fresh hopped beers next year, like doing like Sierra Nevada's celebration. They use fresh hop Cascade hops. That's what and then they use all Cascade for that. So, what better to use than fresh Cascade hops next year in my Sierra Nevada celebration ale or Sierra Nevada Pale Ale for that matter, because they use all Cascade for that one too. All right, guys. Well, hey, I'm going to finish up this last beer and do some last minute video editing on some other stuff. But I appreciate all you guys for jumping on tonight. Enclave, huge shout out for you, man. I appreciate you for gifting some memberships tonight. And I appreciate all of you guys for jumping on and spending some time with me drinking a beer. I'm going to be on again in 2 weeks, but please, please, please come join me on the Brew Show's channel on the 29th. So put it on your calendar. It's going to be an hour later than my normal stream, but it's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern on the 29th. So make sure you check that out. If you want some stickers, make sure you email me, cityscapebrew@gmail.com. But I appreciate all you guys for jumping on. This is always a fun night. I appreciate all of you guys. Sonny, welcome as a member too. Give Enclave another shout out. He's awesome. And I appreciate all of you guys for jumping on. But have yourself an awesome night, and cheers, man. Happy brewing. Send me any questions. Also, in any chat in the comments after this video, or even in an email, cityscapebrew@gmail, and I'll get back to you guys. I appreciate all of you guys for being on here. Cheers and good night.